welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran, and I'm here with River Brown, Andrew Velez, Joe Dehls, John Tortorelli, and this is episode 271. In this episode, we're going to give our plan predictions, talk about Rudy Gobert punching Kyle Anderson, the NBA investigating the Mavericks for tanking, Rockets firing Stephen Silas, and the Ravens signing Odell Beckham Jr. First time experimenting with this pick a side intro in this digital Zoom call. I think it was okay. I mean, little mess up right there at the end, John.
Not great execution on my end.
There we go.
My goodness.
His heart was beating out of his chest. We're going through all the takes beforehand. So, hey, listen, not a bad job. I didn't notice anything.
Hearing Rudy Gobert punched a teammate's a pretty insane headline.
Yeah, I think it is. Especially game 82 of the NBA season. It's not a good look. And if you guys didn't know, Drew and I made a bet about the Lakers and the Timberwolves, who finishes with the better record. The Timberwolves, they lost that bet. The Lakers finished with one more win, one less loss. But that's not the end of the bet. It's double or nothing, baby. Tomorrow playing game, Timberwolves versus Lakers. We're gonna see who wins. Listen, I'm confident in Anthony Edwards. I'm scared that Jaden McDaniels isn't playing. Rudy Gobert is a addition by subtraction because now the Wolves play small ball. Now their offense becomes opened up even more. Listen, Edwards, Conley, Anderson, Torian, Prince, Cat. Let's get it, baby.
Ugly.
Let's get it.
So ugly.
Let's get it.
That's an ugly five you just gave me. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no doubt. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling absolutely fantastic. To of course have the W underneath my belt, especially when Joel Moran felt like he was quote unquote baiting me into taking this deal. And of course, to end up on top here is a phenomenal feeling, but it's not done yet. We have a job to do tomorrow night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm feeling phenomenal. First things first, want to give a quick prayer to, of course, Jaden McDaniels. Should be an all-NBA defender this season. Him not playing also feels like it's not right, really. You want to see the two guys go at it head-to-head, but unfortunately, he let his emotions get the best of him. He's not going to be able to play. And another guy who let their emotions get the best of him, we're going to talk about a little bit later, Rudy Gobert, of course, not going to be playing tomorrow's game. But I like my odds a lot.
Listen, the LeBron.
This guy said I trust Anthony Edwards. I trust the other Anthony Davis, who's going to drop potentially 40 tomorrow night.
I trust Ant-Man with my life. He's going to show up tomorrow. He's going to show up tomorrow.
Last time they matched up, Anthony Edwards, he
was sick.
Like he needed to the lab or maybe the toilet. You're right.
Now listen. When it comes to the Lakers, there's always going to be a lot of exaggeration when it comes to them. And listen, at the time that we made the bet, I just want to make it very, very clear, Drew. All right, I want to make it very, very clear.
Please talk to me.
That was a time period where you thought the Lakers were getting Kyrie Irving, not D'Lo, Vando, and Beasley. I'm confident if the Lakers get Kyrie instead of these three guys, we're talking about the Lakers like the Mavericks right now.
Oh, really? I'm sure. Hey, yeah. we all need.
They would have felt the play-in.
Hey, no, Joel, we all need to find angles to somehow make ourselves feel better, make ourselves, feel validated about what we're doing. But again, he said he was baiting me. He felt like, it's not even a foregone conclusion. You're even getting Kyrie Irving. That was his big thing. He said, I'm taking this deal because I don't even think you're going to get Kyrie Irving. So we didn't get Kyrie Irving and ended up being a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
Because right now we're one of the hottest teams in the game right now.
Listen, I could have never imagined the Jazz would trade Vando for a bag of chips.
Hey,
one of the more winning role players in the league. He should be on the Knicks right now. We should have traded Obi Toppin for him. He should be on the Knicks right now.
Obi was hooping last time he started.
Because there were rumors the Knicks wanted Jared Vanderbilt. We were heavy
rumors.
To get.
You know what rumors are?
We were
things
heavy
that don't
players
happen.
to get him. You're lucky. You got him instead of us. You're lucky.
I am. Hey, I'm grateful. I'm
that would have
more
changed
than anything.
I'm
grateful.
Let's be so honest with each other.
Respect them.
What are you saying, Dehls?
Yeah, Joel, don't get caught on casual alert. Don't do it.
Vando is putting you over the top. You beating the Caps?
We have Josh Hart and Vando. Absolutely. What are we talking about here?
Okay.
This guy.
Whatever.
Listen, Riv, why you laughing in the corner like that, huh?
I'm just
watching.
I'm just watching two play-in teams talk about the play-in.
Oh my God! Don't you know what's funny about
hilarious.
this? Actually, Joel, I'm glad you brought up our bets because I wanted to go through the season-long bets that we had prior to the season starting. So first was the D'Angelo Russell, DeJounte Murray assists. Believe it or not, they tied. Unbelievable. Both had 6.1. So regardless, I already got paid for that. Joel cashed out. He got very nervous when DeJounte was averaging like 9 assists to start the season. Another bet was the Bulls and the Wizards. That's going to have to be paid out because, of course, the Bulls ended up the higher seed. And lastly, another bet that's going to have to be paid out is Andrew Velez paying up to River Brown. Get him a Steph Curry City Edition jersey. And in reality, I'm not too upset at it, of course, because when you look at it, the Warriors and the Lakers, anytime the Warriors see us, it's not a matchup the Warriors like. Of course, we had the season series this year. But, hey, they had the better regular season record. So I'm a man of my word. Of course, next time we are in person, God willing, the shipping is a quick one. Riv will have his Steph Curry jersey.
You know, when it comes to bets, I'm a man of my word. I'm a man that when I lose, I pay up. Dehls, I paid him up for his Alan Lazar one. You know, I paid up Dehls real quick. As soon as the season ended, he got his money. When it comes to Riv, listen, Riv, you're not seeing that, buddy. Respectfully. and the reason he's not seeing that is because if you guys don't remember 2 seasons ago, when we had a Knicks and Hawks prediction and I said the Hawks would be a first-round exit, they indeed got eliminated in the first round, and I never saw that.
That's a fact.
We broke even. And with Drew, listen, man, Dolphins, Jaguars.
Don't do that.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap card.
Unbelievable.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap card's crazy.
It's in the works, baby.
All right.
Now I'm playing double or nothing. I'm going all in with my Wolves. And
so,
listen,
all right, double or nothing.
What is it? $100 bet?
It was, or 75. One of the two. We could do 75. I'll live with either one. I mean, I would love 100 because again, Lakers are coming out on top. However, we understand what double or nothing means, though, Joel.
Yeah, I know. If you win, I pay 200. If I win, then it's nobody gets nothing.
All right, just making sure. Just making sure. All right, sweet.
I mean, I'd rather get. I mean, yeah, I'd rather pay. I'd rather not give you anything.
Yeah, of course.
So this NPC Santos $50 super chat donation. Attention, Santos. Lakers fans. I don't want to hear anything from y'all until you win the play-in, and it's pointless to talk because all I hear is yabba dabba dabba dita. Also, I was in on the bet too, so I need my Curry jersey.
First off, give that man his jersey.
I don't know if Santos was in the jersey conversation. However, we'll talk about it, Santos. You've put me through enough abuse over the last however many weeks since you've decided you want to be an enemy of mine. So we're going to wait and see on that jersey. That being said, again, I'm going to have to address this Lakers statement. It ain't no problem. And if I'm being completely honest, I would rather face the Grizzlies than the Kings. Because in all honesty, right now, the Grizzlies are a banged-up team. They do not have size, an issue that the Lakers do have, and that's a matchup that if I'm the Lakers right now, we have the best big in the series. As great as Jaren Jackson is, anytime that AD matches up against the Grizzlies, it's food. And with no Steven Adams, no Brandon Clark, I like this matchup a lot more for my Lakers. So I'm not mad. And I'm feeling great about tomorrow night.
You lose that game, all of a sudden you're fighting for the 8th seed, then it's
the Nuggets.
Ooh.
I mean,
that's not ideal.
Are you going to take this type of disrespect? Because I saw recently on the Wise Guys podcast, you said the Grizzlies can make the finals.
Huh?
I've said that weeks ago.
Do you believe it? Okay.
I think there's about 5 or 6 teams that can go to the conference finals, and if everything clicks for the Grizzlies, Jaren plays well, it's possible.
So I'm talking about specifically when it comes to the Lakers and Grizzlies.
Who wins that 7-game series?
Yes.
Well, I think it's going to 7.
I'm with you, John. I got Memphis.
Right, and if it goes 7, no. Understand what you guys are saying. If a series goes 7 that LeBron James is partaking in, you're telling me he's losing? John, that's what you're telling me? Riv, that's what you're telling me?
I don't think it goes 7.
All right, so but you just said if you see it going 7, you're taking the Grizzlies.
Listen, Drew, I'm getting tired of John, man. I'm getting tired of John.
Call him out. Call him out.
Giving a strong prediction and then getting called out on it and saying,
backtracking.
What if I'm high on the Lakers too? Is that possible?
if the eggs aren't cooked running, then it's gonna be gravy.
John, pick a
Well,
side,
what's the
bro.
Lakers' record post trade deadline? Do you know?
I know that they're 16-7.
I thought it was 18-8, but okay.
18-8, one of those two, whatever. Since the All-Star break, I think they're 16-7, one of those two.
Really rough.
Listen, John, all I'm saying though is that on the Wise Guys podcast, I'm going through TikTok. I listen to your TikTok, and it's you saying that Grizzlies are going to the finals, and people are sleeping on them. And your co-host calls you out for it, and now I'm telling you, don't pick a side, Lakers, Grizzlies, and you're not giving me a solid answer.
Well, it depends. Quite frankly, Anthony Davis is the determining factor in that series. And if he rolls his ankle in game 4, the Grizzlies are winning. If he does stay healthy,
can you stop with that shit, though?
Well, that's the big variable here, Drew. With the Lakers, will Anthony Davis show up night in and night out? Because he's been way too inconsistent this year. We'll get peak AD, where he's a top 10 player, maybe the most dominant player in the series. And then we have nights where he shits the bed. So I'm trying to find that consistency here in his motor. And it's not just a matter of him staying healthy. And that's why I have a little bit of a toss-up there at those two
Based
teams.
on all the history that you know up to now, if you were to make an educated conclusion and a guess on how the series would go, John, are you leaning with the Grizzlies, the second seed in the Western Conference?
Oh, yes,
that you think every team is sleeping, everybody's sleeping on?
Oh, yes, I am. I'm taking the team with Taylor Jenkins because Darvin Ham, for as good of a job he's done at the defense this year, is a rookie head coach with no playoff experience at the helm. And I question his rotations, and I question, quite frankly, this Lakers bench that last year wasn't good enough against the Grizzlies. I look at Malik Beasley, who Drew's constantly complaining about. Jared Vanderbilt, who's going to be capped at 20 minutes. And if you'll let me finish, D'Angelo Russell, who every time he's in the playoffs, he's almost getting benched. So those three players right there, who are three of your 5 or 6 best guys, are all big variables that I don't trust in that Grizzlies matchup. And especially with Luka in the fold, they're going to have a shooter at all times. You don't want to deal with John Moran, and I know for damn sure you don't want to deal with Jaren Jackson Jr. if that man can stay out of foul trouble.
You could pick out Luka Kennard. You could have him out there as a shooter.
Oh, yeah? Well, that's why it helps out Jaren Jackson.
LeBron's going to match him.
Listen, don't get me in my bag because this could get into a topic that you don't want to get into.
Listen, John,
right? You're saying Jaren Jackson's going to be an issue for the Lakers when Anthony Davis exists.
Okay.
And you're going to disrespect our bench, Rui Hachimura, and the minutes that he's been playing. I know that I know you're sound on the Lakers. I know you've been watching. I give you that respect, but I'm with Joel here. I'm gonna need you to pick a side, brother, because some days you're with me, you're riding high on the Lakers, and now other days here we are. You're saying that, hey, I don't know about what this bench can do. When in reality, Dennis Schroeder's giving great minutes. Of course, Malik Beasley's given some solid minutes. Of recent, he's been getting a little bit hotter, which I can appreciate. He's slumped, but he's shooting his way out of it. Of course, Rui Hachimura. Throw some respect on these guys' names. You're disrespecting D'Lo. Do we forget the performance that D'Lo put forth in the playing game last year? Yes, I know the series that he had against the Grizzlies last year wasn't the greatest. However, playing D'Lo, he's real.
You know, I'm not moved by a playing game where Paul George and Kawhi were out. So, yeah, he had a great playing game for the Timberwolves. But if this Lakers team wants to go to a championship, I'm not sure if D'Angelo will be a consistent enough factor. And we've seen that series in and series out. He's Mr. Unreliable.
You didn't even mention Austin Reeves. You didn't even mention Austin Reeves, the guy who
Mr. Third best player in a championship.
Come on.
I would rely on him more than D'Angelo Russell.
Listen, John, this is all I want from you. All I want from you is to be adamant on the points that you made on the Wise Guys.
I got the Grizzlies winning the series.
That's it. That's all I want from you, John. I want you to just put your foot down and say, this is what I'm going with. Because I know that you believe, like me, the Lakers are frauds. So I want you to be adamant on that point.
I'm seeing so many casuals in the chat right now saying, why is bro mentioning Rui Hachimura? I need every single person that's in the chat right now to go do yourself a favor and use that thing called Google and look at what Rui Hachimura has been doing.
Look at his 8 points per game.
Neither is the film tape.
You're right. Well, the film tape, that's where you're wrong, obviously, because that's the only way that you can recognize that Rui gets some solid minutes off the bench.
Solid minutes. Okay.
That's all we need.
The Grizzlies definitely have a better bench than the Lakers. Not close.
Not with Steven Adams and Clark out. I don't know if that's the case.
Tyus Jones, Xavier Tillman.
In all seriousness,
Luka Kennard.
What skill does Rui Hachimura have that is like really good?
Really good
skills he have?
That's interesting. I'll tell you what, his scoring from within the 3-point line to within the box is very solid. His mid-range game. No, of course not. His mid-range game is very firm.
It is very firm in that series, man. That's not a crazy thing.
John, if it comes down to it, John Conchar, Austin Reeves, who you come down to last shot?
John Concha or Austin Reeves?
Come on,
Yeah.
we know the
In
answer
universe?
here. We know the answer here.
Who does it come down to, John? What
This
do you
one's
think?
really hard.
John,
for
you're
me,
really
John.
gonna trust
Big.
you're gonna trust Ja and Jaren Jackson over LeBron and AD in a 7-game playoff series. The talent gap between these two teams is not that big. I mean,
Dylan Brooks can
arguably
defend
the Lakers
LeBron
have a
well,
better
though.
roster.
Oh my God.
Dylan Brooks has defended Zion this year, your boy. And he's
Well,
done it
Dylan
fairly
Brooks
well.
always defends LeBron well.
Yeah.
He
Dylan
always
Brooks
defends
is one of the
LeBron
2 or
well.
3 best wing defenders in the world.
Yeah, why
Jaren
do
Jackson's
we
one of
just
the 2 or 3
underrate
best
Dylan
players.
Brooks?
Playoffs. It's
It really just
playoffs.
comes down
It's the
to
playoffs.
What is
coaching,
LeBron gonna get dirty or no?
rotations,
Let's
and
be so serious with
consistency.
each
What
other.
do you think, Riv,
just gotta hope
about
he's
Dylan
inefficient.
Brooks' defense on LeBron?
I think he's gonna make it tough.
Not definitely.
I do think he's gonna make it tough. LeBron's LeBron, so saying
Thank you.
get his is duh.
Listen, the Grizzlies definitely have JJJ DPOY guy on AD and Dylan Brooks, top 3 wing defender on LeBron. That's a good matchup for them too. I think that,
I
I just saw someone in the
Depends on
comments
AD's
say that
attitude.
Dylan Brooks is going to get into LeBron James's head.
I trust Memphis stoppers
What are-
more than the Lakers stoppers.
What are we doing?
Anything.
What are
That's
we
a fact.
doing?
Yeah.
The Lakers don't have nothing for Ja Morant. They don't have anything for Ja Morant. Nothing.
I don't disagree. Hope and
Austin
pray
Reeves,
that
great
Austin
defender,
Reeves.
Austin Reeves.
I was gonna say hope and pray that Austin Reeves could do something.
Ja Morant's gonna
He's not staying in front of him. Yes.
And Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder's a good defender.
Oh my, he's getting
Now
a little
this super
by.
chat from Orlando Martinez, Big O, shout out Kenny Pickett and shout out Lake Show.
Shout out Big
This
O,
guy
man.
knows what's up. He knows what's up. Shout out to the boy Big O.
So if you guys didn't know,
point, Rui is a good man. I'll give you. He's a very good
Yeah,
man.
he is.
He's
He
at
is.
48% and 35 with the Lakers.
so to let
been
you
doing
guys
his thing.
know, tomorrow on Playback, we will be live watching the Timberwolves and Lakers play-in game on
Yes, sir.
Playback. Got to capitalize on the playoff hype. So we'll be on Playback watching that. Now, on to the first segment of the show, play-in predictions. The first 2 games that are going to be played are the 7 versus the 8 seed, the Eastern Conference and West, Hawks versus Heat. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty confident that Miami's going to roll by the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young historically is not good against Miami. This season, he's averaging 20 points and 10 assists. And surface level, it looks great, but he is shooting 35% from the field and averaging a boatload of turnovers against Miami. And Jimmy Butler, just since post All-Star break, has been one of the best players in the league. He's averaging 26. He's averaging 26, 6, and 6, shooting 61% from the field and 48% from 3. Although it's on 1 attempt, it's still, it's a great number for Jimmy Butler. And Bam Adebayo against the Atlanta is averaging 25 and 10. So for me, I have Miami easily in this game. I think they'll put a lot of pressure on Trae Young, and they'll force their shooters to make shots. In Atlanta just doesn't have good enough shooters to win that game, I believe. So along with my pick for Miami, I have Bam Adebayo's 32.5 PRA. 25 and 10. He averages that against them. So I think he'll get that easily. I think Bam's going to have a big-time game.
What's the under on
32.5.
Trae Young points?
Trae Young, I think, is at like 24.5.
Because
Yeah.
last year in that series, I've never seen a superstar shit the bed as even Julius Randle levels. 15 points per game for Trae in 5 games, and he shot 32% from the field with 6.2 turnovers a game.
Trae Young fans will bring up the game winner though, and trying to hope and pray to defend him. But that was a big stinker, no doubt about it. My pick here, similar as Joel, I'm with you on essentially everything you said. I just think the Miami Heat, when it comes to playing the Atlanta Hawks, simply have their number. Jimmy Butler, over the past 2 months, really has been one of the best basketball players in the world, just scoring at will defensively, especially around this time of year. This is where we start to see the true Jimmy Butler. There was a conversation, I think, Riv, you actually interacted with it. It was, of these 4, who's the worst defender of the group? And I remember Jimmy Butler being involved with that. Do you remember the other 3 names off the top of your head? If not, I could just move on.
OG, Jaden McDaniels, Jimmy Butler, and I forgot the 4th person.
And they were asking which one's the worst perimeter defender of the 4. And a lot of people were saying Jimmy Butler due to age. And understandably, of course, we're talking about Jaden McDaniels, who's been one of the better perimeter defenders in the league. OG Anunoby was one of the better defenders in the game all season long, for sure. But it can't be undersold how great of a defender Jimmy Butler is in his own right. Of course, we all know this. And then Bam Adebayo. He had one game where he dropped 30. So yes, the numbers are where he averages 25 against the Hawks. I think that he needs to be a strong factor in this game for my prediction to be even more stamped than it already is. I just think that he needs to assert his dominance. The Heat, in order to have success, yes, it is all dependent on Jimmy Butler, but really the X factor is Bam Adebayo. So I like your selection for Boom Fantasy for sure. For me, I'm feeling a vibe with mine. I feel like sometimes I take these Boom Fantasy picks too serious. And I know come playoff time, regular season, Jimmy, he's not shooting threes. But come playoff time, he's a little bit more loose, a little bit more free in his game. And it's 0.5 threes. He just needs to make one. So I'm feeling a vibe here. I'm taking the over on that.
Okay.
Dehls, you want to go or?
Go ahead, Riv. I got to finish some shit up real quick.
Oh, okay. So you're not even locked in. Got it.
My goodness,
My
Dehls.
We were getting
in.
violated, Riv. You remember that we were getting violated before the show? And this
Nah,
guy's
honestly,
not even
it's some
locked in?
shit for work that was supposed to be done. Shit just never got done. They're like, you didn't do it. I was like, no one told me to do it. So,
All right, fair enough. Understandable.
I think this is probably the easiest pick of the play-in. I got Miami. I just can't see a world where Spo Butler loses in a play-in game. You know, they haven't been good offensively this year, but play-in game, playoff mode, you mentioned it. Jimmy Butler, this is his time of the year. He likes to get in that mode, play a little loose, play a little free. And Miami defensively is still a good unit. You know, they still got Bam, they still got Jimmy Butler. All things considered, Spo's going to out-coach Quinn Snyder. Atlanta, they're so weird because they're such the middest team of the year. I really can't trust them in this situation, especially on the road, going to Miami. I like Jimmy Butler. For my boom pick, like Drew mentioned, Jimmy Butler, this is his time. He's feeling loose. He's feeling free. So I got the PNR over 40.5. I just think Jimmy's going to have a big time game tomorrow. He's going to do his thing offensively. The assist is going to be there. The rebound is going to be there. Look out for a triple-double. That could be in play too. This is just Jimmy Butler's time to shine. And realistically, Atlanta has nothing to hold Jimmy. I know we like DeAndre Hunter, AJ Griffin's cool, but they don't have anything to hold Jimmy Butler.
Whose birds are chirping in the background?
That is me. I apologize.
My goodness.
damn, loud.
Now listen, Riv.
What
I
is
need
he
you.
supposed to do there? What is he supposed to do, really? Birds are, I'm assuming it's right outside his window.
They came
My
for the
goodness.
Hawks series. I'll take the over on Trae Young turnovers at 4.5. I'll also take the over on DeAndre Hunter, 14.5 points. Last year in the Miami series, he was their best player, played very well. And John Collins, after mangling his finger, has made 38% of his triples in the last 21 games. I'm going to still take the under, though, in his points. What's it at?
24 and
help me out, Boom. No, there's just straight points, 12.5.
No, John Collins.
Oh,
John Collins.
You said John Collins is 12 and a half.
I'll take the under, though, on his points. I think he's bound for a regression game against Miami.
Now, Riv, I want to let you know something. Two things. One, your mic, I don't think is you're not using it on StreamYard.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think
No,
it's
Riv, you're most definitely not.
Hit
Unfortunately.
settings, audio.
And number two, I'll be sure after the podcast to make sure I send you some lights.
I'm back.
Dude, it's funny you say that because obviously I was not on the podcast last time, but I seen you guys post the TikToks, and I'm just like, yo, it is dark as fucking Riv's room. Why does bro not have any light?
You don't have
I
any
got an
windows?
extra light, Riv.
Huh?
I got extra light if you need. It's big though. I don't know if you're gonna be able to fit it in your vehicle. If not, we can send you lights. But my pick for this game is interesting because Jimmy Butler's been hyped up a lot. The Heat have been hyped up a lot. Possible rematch of ECF last year. Everyone's telling me like, "Oh, do you want to see the Heat? Do you want to see the Hawks?" Obviously, I'm rooting for the Hawks. They're an easier team, I think, in a 7-game series than the Heat. But what a lot of people are overlooking is this Miami team has been playing well offensively recently, but their defense has taken a step back. They're bottom 10 in defensive efficiency over this past month of the season. So with Jimmy Butler playing well and playing a lot better playoff Jimmy Butler, we've seen their defense kind of regress over this last half of the season. But it doesn't change my pick. I'm still taking the Miami Heat. The Hawks don't play serious basketball. Defensively, they really don't give any effort. We mentioned Trae Young's struggles against them. And I think at the end of the day, you're just going to see the veterans that the Heat have, the leadership from Eric Spoelstra. It's just a team you're going to trust more in a do-or-die game. It is one game, so if Trae Young gets hot and is able to drop 40, things can change. But historically, I think you have to go with the Heat here. And they kind of feel like the easiest pick out of all of these playing games.
So now, just staying on topic of the East, Wednesday's game, Bulls versus Raptors. Do any of you guys have Toronto winning? because I have the Bulls winning this. I think they've been more of a hot team. I trust Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan in this type of setting. And the Raptors, to me, I don't know, man. I know Pascal's good. I know OG's good. They have a lot of good players, but not enough players that I feel like are going to change this type of game. I think with Alex Caruso's defense, with the Pat Bev addition, what he's brought to their team, I like the Bulls in this game.
I understand where you're
Talk to
coming
me,
from. I'm sorry, Riv. This is your team. Go ahead.
No, can you guys hear me now? Is it?
Yeah, I can hear you. It sounds
it's
good.
A lot better, a lot better.
Thank you. Yeah, it was connected to my MacBook. That was some bullshit. But what's the name? No, this is more for you, Drew. You're a Raptors and Zach LaVine guy. I know where I'm going with this. So this
That's
is
real.
For you.
I appreciate Riv, yo. You don't know how much that means to me.
Please don't say nothing dumb now.
I'll try not to. So the truth of this season is that the Raptors have the season series 2-1, but like Joel said, the Bulls seem to be the hotter team. The one thing you can say about these matchups recently that the Raptors have played, the games that they should win, they've won. Outside of a game versus the Pacers, they've lost to teams like Milwaukee, they've lost to teams like Boston, but in terms of the teams that they need to handle, a Charlotte, a Detroit, teams of that nature, they win. So they win the games that they should. But this probably is the hardest game of the play-in games for me to decide because how close these two teams are. Similar where defensively these two teams are very, very good. But, of course, Chicago has been the better defense since the All-Star break. And honestly, since the new year, since February, they've been one of the best defenses in the NBA. I feel like with the way that Zach LaVine has been scoring of recent, I don't think that Toronto has the offense, the true firepower to keep up with Zach and DeMar together, especially if they're on. But this is going to be a very close game. I don't want it to think like this is a Bulls blowout, but I'm going with the Bulls reluctantly.
All right. I'm glad he said we're all in agreement. I just don't think the teams are close. I think defensively we've been better. And after the All-Star break, offensively, we just have more guys that can break you down, get you in the pick and roll. We have better shooters. Zach LaVine's been hot. DeMar DeRozan's still Toronto's one of the worst half-court offenses in the league. They just don't have enough guys that can generate offense in a half-court set, in one-on-one isolation. They just don't have enough guys. So if the game does come down to the clutch, who do you trust? I mean, Spicy P, yeah, but who else? Like Joel said, there's just not many guys on Toronto where you trust to go get a bucket, go create for others, and we have that. So I'm leaning with the Bulls.
I think that I'm just going to go with the Bulls also against the Hawks if they face. I think the Bulls wind up getting the 8th seed in the East.
I agree.
The Bulls are definitely better than the Hawks, the Raptors, but the Raptors are a really good matchup with OG and Freddie defensively. I think that game will be close. I don't care who wins. They're both mid. But it's important to know with Jakob Poeltl, the Bulls have 107 defensive rating. And I think they are, though mid, better on that side of the floor when he's out there at center.
Okay.
So who are you picking, John?
behind that.
I'll take the Bulls.
Yeah, I think I said in the last pod, I don't know if either team is going to get to 100 points. This is going to be a defensive battle, probably a pretty ugly game. Both teams maybe shoot around 40% from the field. It's not a game I'm that happy about watching, but I have to go with the Bulls. They both play pretty good defense. The Bulls have just been a lot better, especially since the start of the 2023 calendar year. And offensively, you're not looking at either teams as juggernauts, but you have to look at Chicago with DeMar and Zach LaVine and just trust their shot-making ability, their shot-creating ability, and overall just skill over the guys that the Toronto Raptors have. I know you got Siakam, you got Fred, Scotty Barnes could show flashes, but I think consistently over those 48 minutes, you have to go with one of the better duos in the league and just hope defensively, you're able to lock in like you have been all year.
Let's line things up and go on to the game in the Western Conference that is interesting. Lakers versus Timberwolves, although it is Timberwolves versus Lakers because it's at Staples Center or Crypto Arena, I should say. The Timberwolves are winning this game, man. Listen.
You don't even believe it.
The Timberwolves are winning this game. When you talk about all the adversity they've been through this season, they're geared up to win a game like this. You're talking about do or die moment. I need one game. What player would I rather go with than Anthony Edwards in that one game?
I'm cringing.
I'm
cringing.
Game.
There's multiple people.
One game.
No, he's making me cringe. This guy sounds like Max Kellerman when asked Andre Iguodala or Steph Curry, who do you want taking the last shot? Except in this scenario, with all due respect to Anthony Edwards, how amazing he is as a basketball player, you're putting him in the conversation of I'm trusting Anthony Edwards over
A 40-year-old
LeBron
LeBron
James
James.
and
Yeah, I am.
Anthony Davis. Okay, go ahead.
Listen, I'm
continue.
trusting Anthony Edwards.
Listen,
and
I
listen,
respect the
you
agenda
better
1,000%.
respect it. No,
'cause
you
you're out
better
of your
respect the
mind. You're
Timberwolves, not just an
picking the
agenda,
Wolves right now.
not just an
You're
agenda.
crazy.
You better respect Cat, because Cat's gonna come out to play. He's been hearing all the disrespect. He's gonna come out to play. Kyle Anderson, slow mo. Listen, he's a good defender
Shout out
too.
Slow-Mo.
No, don't get
He is.
it twisted. He can play defense. Mike Conley, the leadership he adds. Listen, man. The Timberwolves are gonna win this game. They're gonna win this game. And the other night when they faced the Lakers, they should have won. But they had a stomach virus. Everybody was sick, and they kind of blew a second half lead. Listen, it's not gonna happen this time around, Drew. And the big reason why they blew the lead is because Rudy Gobert is a non-factor offensively.
Really?
I think Rudy Gobert is an addition by subtraction in this game because I think their offense opens up. I think Ant is a better player when Cat is the 5. I do. I think he's a better offensive player. Cat locks in defensively. You saw that block he had in the Pelicans game. Listen, he's a two-way superstar. He's
It was
coming,
tough.
baby.
Super
yeah. Ant-Man
Oh.
is the guy. He's that
Never say
guy.
Cat's a two-way
coming.
player again. Never.
I never
he
said
had
No,
to
Cat.
he's
say
saying,
Ant
he's
versus
saying Anthony
Pelicans.
Edwards. He's saying Anthony Edwards.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All I'm
Anthony
saying,
Edwards
John,
had one
is
of
you
the
better
craziest
respect.
blocks I've seen.
You better respect,
No,
John,
Ant
because I know
is-
you
Ant is the way player.
disrespect the Wolves a lot. You better respect, buddy.
What's going to be the excuse, Joel, when the Lakers beat the Timberwolves in the play-in? Is it
You
going to
know
be
what's
Rudy
gonna be
Gobert is
the
out?
I
Is it
can't
going to be
wait.
Kyle
Oh,
Anderson?
McDaniels.
Oh, no, it's
Wow.
very
Is
Is
easy.
it going to be Jaden
Exactly.
McDaniel? Is it going to be Jared Vanderbilt on Anthony Edwards, or is it going to be the stomach flu that they're still
Listen,
not
Jared
fully
Vanderbilt and
removed
Anthony
from?
Edwards, he gives them tough matchup problems for sure. I respect Vando as a defender. The excuse will be Jaden McDaniel's absence. That's the guy I'm worried about that's not in this game because he's the LeBron stopper. I mean, when he has
He's
LeBron
serious.
in Rikers Island when he's on him.
He did have
Jaden
him in hell
McDaniels, when I saw he was matching him against LeBron, I went on Boom Fantasy. I took the under on LeBron's points like that. And guess what? He had 18 points that game. He did not do great that game scoring. So for me, Jaden McDaniels is the biggest absence in this game. But do or die game, it's Anthony Edwards, baby. It's
Joel,
Anthony
you're
Edwards,
mad, man.
baby. And listen, that's
Joel,
why
you're mad,
I'm
man.
going with
Davis.
Anthony Edwards, 27.5 points on Boom Fantasy over. He's going to have
the
30
house is
plus.
winning.
You better
The house
book
is
it.
winning there,
You
Joel.
better book
So
it.
enjoy that. Enjoy that money. All right.
You better book it.
I'm just gonna assume you guys want me to go next. I'm just gonna assume here. So
Go
you
for
know,
it.
Joel,
Never get enough Lakers talk.
I appreciate that. Thanks very much. Joel, you mentioned Jaden McDaniels. I do agree. I do think that is the biggest blow, and for more reasons than one, why Gobert is. What do you mean by that? Anyways, I want to give a credit to Trevor Lane. This is excuse me. He's the host of the Lakers Nation. He's one of the main accounts on Lakers Twitter that I pay attention to. He goes and says, better without Gobert. In 304 possessions with Karl Anthony Towns on the floor, but no Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, or Jaden McDaniels, the Wolves are plus 9.5 points per 100 possessions. Good for 95th percentile in the NBA per clean the glass. They've been great when Gobert's not on the floor because it allows for the spacing to be there. And now you surprised me with adding Naz Reid into the mix and also Jaden McDaniels because for sure, no Jaden McDaniels is a blow. No Rudy Gobert, that's going to hurt you defensively, especially we saw the last matchup with the Wolves and the Lakers where Gobert went out with, I believe, some knee. I believe it was a knee injury. When he was out, Anthony Davis went to work on Karl Anthony Towns because Karl Anthony Towns cannot hold Anthony's nutsack. No way, no how. So I will say the big loss is Naz Reid because now they do lack that depth at the big position. Naz Reid was playing phenomenal basketball for them. This was really his breakout season in a contract year. He was going to get himself paid. And it's really unfortunate that he did have the I believe it's a wrist injury. That really is very bitter. It's a very bitter taste if you are a Wolves fan. However, it's the Lakers. For all the reasons I listed where Naz Reid's not going to play, you do not have the big depth, especially with Gobert missing time too. You don't have that defense to really have anyone try and lock up Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis, we're going to go to my Boom Fantasy pick. I am taking Anthony Davis's over-under in terms of points this game, 25.5, because again, there is no one to defend Anthony Davis on this Wolves team. And you said it, the quote-unquote LeBron stopper. Credit where credit is due. Jaden McDaniels did an excellent job on LeBron James the last time they matched up. You said he didn't even score 20 points. However, he still was able to be effective in other ways. And now that Jaden McDaniels is unfortunately not going to suit up tomorrow night, LeBron James is also going to have a field day of his own right. Yes, I think that this Wolves team does, quote-unquote, deserve respect. They're a very talented group, but unfortunately, they're not all healthy right now. And the Lakers just happen to be one of the hottest teams in the game right now. So I'm going with the Los Angeles Lakers. You said that you want to trust Anthony Edwards. You're taking him over anyone else. I'm just going to put my chips all in the basket of Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Can't be mad at that. I mean, I would have respect for the Wolves if Jane McDaniels was out there, if Naz Reid was out there.
So you're saying you got no respect for them now?
Rudy Gobert, listen, I almost like in the sense of Rudy Gobert missing this game because, like you alluded to, Joel, the fact that you can play cat at the 5 and you have to space out AD and he can't just sit in the paint and wait for you to drive to the basket and block shots. That's a huge positive, I think, for this Timberwolves team. But at the end of the day, the Wolves team is lacking talent to beat the Lakers. The Lakers being hot is one thing. I understand that. They haven't beaten a ton of great teams, so I don't know like how much of this really great stretch I take into account, especially once we get into the playoffs and they're going to be in a 7-game series against a team that's actually good at playing basketball. But in a 1-game scenario where you have LeBron and you have AD and your opponent is missing their best perimeter defender, their best rim protector, even though I think it is a positive, and their best backup big, it's really hard for me to find any scenario outside of Ant dropping fucking 50 points that the Timberwolves are going to win this game. I don't know what route you're going to have to go outside the Lakers just being cold because we know they're going to play defense. They've been one of the best defensive teams in the NBA since the All-Star break. We know they're going to play defense. So outside the Lakers' shots just straight up not going in, maybe Anthony Davis isn't as aggressive like we see time to time. Maybe Austin Reeves stops getting some of those foul calls in a playoff scenario that he got in the regular season. But outside of the Lakers screwing this up, I can't see a way where the Timberwolves can take this game and win it with all the players they're missing.
Listen, you make a good point, Dehls. You do make a good point. But I'm going to trust the Wolves, man. That's my heart. That's where my heart's going with. I do find it a bit challenging because the McDaniels point, but we're not talking about the other factor, man. It's going to be 6-on-5 out there. It's going to be the refs and the Lakers starting 5 versus the Wolves starting 5. That's what it's going to be.
Still taking the Wolves.
Listen, because I'm going to go is one game
do
or die. One game do or die.
The Lakers are going to get the call. That's how we're going to kind of get out of this.
Do or die. Let's get it.
It's simple to me, boys. It's very simple to me. The only reason he is taking the Minnesota Timberwolves is for once in his life, he's deciding to pick a side, and I can respect that. But at the same time, he needs to. We got to put on a show here. You understand what I'm saying? He knows it in his heart, in his soul. They're cooked. The Wolves are not winning this game.
No 7th seed has lost in the playing tournament so far.
Drew and I behind the scenes have already said that, listen, we're not going to pay out nothing. We're just going to pay out the regular amount. This is just for show. We've already discussed that.
Oh, you guys are frauds. This is what's happening. Okay.
He's capping like hell. Y'all are gullible as shit, man. And it really makes me sick.
I know. Drew, I know you would take that shit.
I'm about to say, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? When it comes to Joel, it's just something about taking his money that is just a little extra special. That's just what it is.
Nothing he can do about it, right?
No, absolutely not.
Tying your heart, Joel, by the way, to this Timberwolves team is wild. That's a roller coaster.
It was his 1 seed. I'll respect it. Like at least you can say, well, they didn't play.
Shit, Dehls, I had them as a top 4 seed too, but I jumped off the bandwagon at a certain point when I realized this shit ain't working. I really do think the Timberwolves are a better team in the playoffs without Rudy Gobert, and because of how pampered he is, everything needs to be around him. We need to get him in the ball in the post. All of the fit limitations. I really think the Timberwolves are going to play more inspired in this game. Their biggest issue this year has been engagement, energy, and effort and consistency. Transition defense example. And I feel like without Rudy Gobert, they're going to play harder. They're going to play more connected. And they're going to show, hell, we're a better team without him. This team won more games last year with Cat healthy, 46. And against this Lakers team, we're going to play balls to the wall. We don't care. We've heard all the noise this year, but no Pat Bev. We're missing the leader. I truly think Kyle Anderson has become a leader for this team. Rudy Gobert wasn't. He can't handle pressure. Teammates don't like him. this Minnesota group, the guys they have right now between Cat, Ant, Mike Conley, and Kyle Anderson, they're going to play together. And I do think Anthony Edwards, based off of how hot he got last year, can put on a show against this Lakers defense because they do not have a wing defender that can truly put him in a straitjacket other than Jared Vanderbilt. But will Vando be on the floor in the closing minutes? That's the bigger question.
Who are you taking, John?
He didn't say.
He never picks a team. It's just analysis and no picks.
I break this down, Dehls. I put it into a fine wine, and then I give you the solution. And I think the solution is that the Lakers are going to win this game. The Timberwolves are going to go and shit, they might lose with Rudy Gobert in the.
But listen, John, what you just said, a lot of your analysis definitely leaned to Minnesota, and I feel like your analysis leaned and gave an opening for. Listen, this is how the Timberwolves can win this game. So that's why. Listen, everything you said is the reason is the way I feel. Listen, I think it's great that you're giving the audience some real sound analysis on how Minnesota's going to win this game.
You know.
Oh my God!
A lot of what John said, you can point to that Pels game they just recently played. That a lot of that shit happened in that Pels game. You know, Rudy Gobert went out, and Edwards took the assignment of Brandon Ingram, and then you saw in the stretches where he was guarding him, he really gave Brandon Ingram some trouble. And then offensively, Taurean Prince got it going, Cat got it going. They just started to rally when Rudy Gobert left the game, and I think a lot of what John said can happen. But the Lakers are just fully equipped right now. They're fully healthy. LeBron and AD's been playing at an elite level this year. Minnesota's just too banged up. Jaden McDaniels is probably the most important piece on their team outside of Edwards, and he's going to be missing defensively. They need him for guys like LeBron, Kawhi. Like, he's that guy, and him not playing this game is really huge. I just think Minnesota right now is just on one leg, limping into this game. They don't have enough right now. I'll lean the Lakers. My boom pick is D'Angelo Russell to hit 3 threes. I think he's going to come in there because, like you said, we said it before, his play-in performance is better than his playoff performance. Like, his play-in performance last year was
He's been cooking, too. He's been cooking.
And once he gets hot, he starts to get in that mode. Once he gets in that mode, you really can't stop D'Lo no matter what you do. So I got him getting hot in this game, definitely. But I think the Lakers win it pretty comfortably. I think the real struggle is going to be when Gobert comes back. And you have to play either the Pels or OKC because, like you said, they play better without Gobert. Now you bring Gobert back into the fold after punching a teammate. By the way, Gobert is 7'3", so if Kyle Anderson was like 6'5", that was going right to his face. He might have got knocked out. But that could break up the tension. But I got the Lakers. I think the Lakers comfortably win this game.
Real quick, just to just not be all, debatey. You said you were talking about D'Lo and when he gets hot. I'll tell you one of my favorite things about D'Lo watching him play since being on the Lakers is just his ability to just let it go in transition. The confidence that he's had, and that's something that the Lakers need.
He's always had that, yeah.
For real, but seeing with the Lakers, something that I haven't had in a season and a half, of course, I'm going to get excited about it. His ability to just get in transition, not hesitate, let it go. And he's been shooting about 40% since joining the Lakers from 3. He's been phenomenal, a huge boost to the team, and I'm glad that you're giving him his respect because he deserves it.
Oh yeah, not that him being on the Lakers now makes him deserving of respect.
He's just been playing amazing as a Laker. I'm not going to disagree with you, Joel. I definitely, obviously, have taken more of a liking to D'Lo now. He's on my Lakers.
You disrespected him last offseason.
I did. I never hid from that. But I acknowledge he's been absolutely amazing with us. If he was playing like shit, I would tell him straight up, hey, you're not playing that well, to be honest.
He's never been somebody that
phenomenal.
He's never been somebody that's played like shit consistently, repeatedly.
Correct.
He has stinkers.
Correct. No,
but the Wolves last year, he was amazing.
I'm speaking very loosely right now. Last season, he was great. He had a rough series against the Grizzlies, which led to them getting eliminated. That was the last taste in our mouths. He was really good this season also, but has just stepped it up even more since joining the Lakers, just being one of the most efficient guys in the game right now.
Thunder and Pelicans. Now, this is an interesting matchup. And I thought about this. The Pelicans do have a higher seeding, but maybe it's this weird thing I have right now where I'm just taking a 10 seed in both conferences. I'm going with the Bulls in the East, and I'm going with the Thunder in the West. I think the Thunder have a better defense. I think SGA is the better player between Brandon Ingram and him, and I just trust what OKC has. The plethora of playmakers in SGA, Giddey, and Jalen Williams. Then you have the defensive players like Jalen Williams and Lou Dort Kenrich Williams. I mean, listen, I know they don't have a center, but the Pelicans don't necessarily have a center that can dominate you that you're really worried about. Jonas is going to play maybe 25 minutes in most, given his liabilities on defense. I think that the Thunder are going to win this game. I trust them, and maybe this scenario where they make the playoffs and they sneak in, although I don't think they beat Minnesota or the Lakers if they face either of them in the 8-9 matchup. But I like the Thunder in this game.
I'm with you, Joel. This is tough because the Pelicans recently have been playing better basketball, 7-3 in their last 15 games, 6th in defensive rating. But a lot of these stats, when you go into the playoffs, especially when you look at the most recent games, I mean, we saw what this last week of the NBA season is. You got stars sitting out, you got guys not playing, you got them playing for a quarter, a half, and coming out. So even though the Pelicans have been playing better basketball, or they've been hotter in a sense, it's harder to take that into account when you have actual context into it. And although the Thunder haven't been great, 4-6 in their last 10, and they've really been, it feels like, struggling, especially offensively. Their defense has been really solid. I still side with the Thunder here. I think the talent of the Thunder, although it's not a huge gap, I trust the talent more. SGA's having an all-NBA season. You have guys like Jalen Williams, who made a push for Rookie of the Year at the end of the season. Lou Dort is lock up defensively, and they have really good role players. Isaiah Joe has been a fantastic find for him, one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA this year. So I trust more so the roster of the Thunder to be able to have one really good game. I agree, though. Next game they play, whether it's the Wolves or the Lakers, I have a hard time seeing they're going to get over that matchup. But I do think that in this first one against the Pelicans, obviously without Zion, who we might talk about later, but the Pelicans apparently don't think he's anywhere near close to returning to the court. I'll be taking the Thunder here.
This is tough. The Brandon Ingram in the last 10, 12 games, and I hate that I have to say this, he's been one of the 10 best players in the world.
He's been unbelievable.
He's been and even that last Timberwolves game, he was absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, his ability to get his spots, hit the mid-range shot, his playmaking, he's probably one of the top 3 playmaking wings in the league. So he's been great. Like you mentioned, SGA has been having an All-NBA year. I think SGA is the best player on the floor when those two teams match up. Defensively, OKC is a much better defensive group overall than the Pels. I know their last 20-something games, they've been really good, but I think all year OKC has shown you they're a stingy defense. They can get turnovers. They can get in the passing lanes. But Trey Murphy's been great. This one's a tough one for me. I'm going to have to go a little biased on side with OKC. I think SGA is going to be able to get me this one. Giddey's been amazing. Jalen Williams has been amazing. Even the center, Jalen Williams, has been good in stretches. You know, they don't have a center for real, but he's been really good. Dortz is a defender that can cause problems for Brandon Ingram, and I think that's huge. So I'm going to go with OKC on this one. I think they pull up the upset.
This one was tough for me, John. I'm sorry, but I'm surprised. So far, 3 for 3, all OKC. The season series this year right now is 3-1 in favor of the Pelicans. In all 3 of those games, either you had just Zion play, you had Brandon Ingram play, or you had neither of them play. And the game that neither of them played, OKC was dominant. Brandon Ingram did not play, and this was the most recent game in March where OKC won that game very comfortably. I feel like with how amazing Brandon Ingram has been, averaging 27 points over his last 15, 51% from the field, 38% from 3. He's been in one of those modes where he's been backpacking these guys. And Riv has been very critical of Brandon Ingram in the past, and he's been very critical of the opponents that he's played. But 2 of those big wins have been against the Clippers. Yes, you could say the Clippers without Paul George. That's definitely a hit, but regardless of that fact, Brandon Ingram has come to play. He has been one of the better players in the league over the last 15 games. It's just one of those matchups where, yes, I understand you guys are making very sound logic in terms of the defense that OKC plays, with Dortz being the one who's probably going to take the assignment on Brandon Ingram. I just feel like at this point, no one's stopping BI. BI is just in one of those zones that he's just been so dominant. I'm just going to trust that with him now on the court. CJ, of course, you mentioned it. Trey Murphy has been providing some very solid minutes. And I believe also sleeper to have a really solid game, Jonas, for the fact that they don't have a real big to defend against him. He could definitely assert himself down low, but really what it's going to come down to is now the presence of Brandon Ingram being able to be just the most dominant offensive player in this game specifically. You can't forget that SGA is on that other side, but just how dominant BI has been and how consistent he's been over these last 15 to 20 games, I'm just going to ride with the Pelicans.
These last 15 to 20 games that BI has had aren't even as good as the season SGA has had.
Absolutely,
all year.
you're 100% right. You're 100% right.
28 points and 8 assists in his last 14. Shea this year's been first-team All-NBA performer. I'm glad he talked about Trey Murphy because he's been the Pelicans' second-best player. I mean, the kid's becoming a star. He's been one of the most improved sophomores this year, one of the few improved sophomores. I think Trey Murphy, if he lights it up from three-point in this game, I mean, they don't really have anyone that can guard Jonas in the post, but Jonas defensively will be attacked by a team that sets a lot of guard screens, play small, will do some spread pick and roll. They bring in Darius Arch. Now it's tragic. There's no Jose Alvarado in this game, and also no Kenrich Williams either under wrist surgery. But I'm going to lean with, I don't know. I'm going to go with the Thunder in this game because they have the better player and also the better coach, Mark Dagnall. I trust him defensively. I think he has the right. He connects with his players in a way that most young coaches don't. And with Willie Green, I don't trust his rotations this year. It's been questionable. In their last game, I mean, the guy wasn't actually going enough to Brandon Ingram down the stretch. And I really do worry late in a game, will he actually be the one to really take the Pelicans and make the right decision?
Now, those are our playing predictions. And along with the playing predictions, we gave our Boom picks. And we have a giveaway right now going on with Boom. Dehls, you want to talk about that?
Yes, sir. We're giving away MLB The Show. Drew, I know you've been playing it. I have it downloaded on my Xbox. I have not got a chance to play it yet, but every year MLB The Show is probably the best sports game out there. So if you want to enter, it's really simple. Sign up for Boom Fantasy. Use code PICKASIDE, PAS, download or deposit $10 or more, and you're entered. That's all it takes. You could find the link in the description. You can find the link on our Twitter, on our Instagram, wherever you go. Just make sure you use code PICKASIDE. We have baseball. There's going to be playing games. There's NHL. Obviously, when football's around, there's football picks too. So go ahead, download Boom Fantasy, and maybe get a copy of MLB The Show.
We definitely have to, now that the NBA season might be over soon. Well, the playoffs are going to be like a month and a half long. But yeah, after that, we got to do some MLB picks, I got to get more in tune with baseball.
Are you about to get in tune? Are you?
Nah, definitely,
And
definitely.
Boom Fantasy, they have the toss-up long shots and favorites. I think one of the coolest things they have in the long shots are home run props. So you could go in there, you could pick a few players to the home run, you get 3 right, win 40 times your money. I know that's really popular on other sites, so go ahead, check it out.
Yeah, make sure y'all check out Boom, man, because we're month by month, man. We need these signups bad.
Be real. We need the signups, the depositors, the clicks, man. Help us out.
So listen, I want to say this because while we was talking in the super chats, I mean in the comment section, I was reading something I didn't like. So Christopher D asked if he should send super chats because he's wondering if they get discussed or not. And then somebody basically said that they don't get discussed and stuff. And James Young said, "Save your money."
Go through all of them,
right? Yes,
we go through all of them
every
episode.
So I just want to know, come on, James Young, for you to say that was very fake of you. If you're a Pick Us Out supporter, for you to tell somebody not to super chat us, not to donate to us when we're giving you guys 6+ hours of content weekly, doing this grind for you guys, and we definitely read everybody's super chats. We understand that sometimes we are late, no doubt, but we definitely read these super chats. And the reason why we might not read them right away is because we're doing a segment. So in the middle of a segment, we won't read a super chat right away, but after we finish the segment, we'll definitely read the super chats. So here's the one that Christopher D sent. Rank these players top 50, top 25, top 15, top 10, top 5, GOAT with this ring and finals MVP. Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Giannis, and Tatum.
That's so
all right,
people.
I'm gonna try and give it a whirl. I got it. All right, so I'm gonna say
LeBron.
That Tatum becomes top 50, right? The top 25. I'm gonna go CP3 and Westbrook.
And
I'm gonna throw in CP3 and Westbrook is NAD.
Okay.
I'm just wondering whether or not he wants us to rank these players if they have a ring and finals MVP.
I believe that's what it is.
He's saying if they win a ring and finals MVP, what does it mean to their legacy? So, yes, I think Tatum gets thrown into the top 50. I believe that top 25 with a ring and a finals MVP, the only guys in this category that would get to the top 25 would be CP3, Russell Westbrook, and I would say Anthony Davis as well. In terms of top 15, a ring and a finals MVP, I'm going Kawhi, KD, and I'm going to stop there. Another finals MVP, I'm going to say top 10, Curry. And I'm going to go Giannis, top 10.
Yep.
Top 5, I'm going to go Curry, and then go LeBron.
Curry top 5 stuff.
The only goes LeBron. I don't think
Correct.
Curry gets in the top 5 with another ring and finals MVP. I think top 10 criteria is Steph Curry.
I don't
Giannis,
know, bro.
Best shooter ever.
People will start to jack that he's the greatest point guard of all time, and it will not be an
changing
argument
the NBA. Yeah, he'd be in that discussion.
Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kareem.
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry's legacy is not better than Kobe, even if he gets a ring and finals MVP. That's 4 right there.
They both would have 2 finals MVPs.
That's
both
a
would have
conversation.
5 rings.
He's not on Kobe.
Because we hadn't seen Curry before. Curry's a 1-1. We'd seen Kobe before.
Steph ain't better than Kobe, man.
He's not better than Kobe.
The defense obviously is what makes it unfair.
For sure.
I think
there is an agenda.
Magic would be the one to get pushed more than
Magic.
Kobe.
Absolutely, I agree.
But I think top 10, Curry, Giannis, and KD have a case. Top 15, I don't think anybody here has a case top 15 after that. Top 25, that's when I'd probably go with Kawhi Leonard. Just peak for peak, because the accolades with him are never going to be there. Top 50 would be Westbrook, Chris Paul, Anthony Davis. I just think that when it comes to Anthony Davis, he doesn't have enough individual accolades to be top 25 all time. He doesn't have any MVPs. He has no DPOY. Russell Westbrook, he's the one that top 25 is reasonable for him based on his resume.
CP3, you saying it's not reasonable for him?
I think Westbrook has a better resume than Chris Paul. I just think that Russell Westbrook's, him going from team to team and then making them worse and not really helping them much is what makes his accolades kind of like there's a stain on them. Where Chris Paul, Chris Paul doesn't have the accolades, he doesn't have the MVP, but he has multiple defensive teams, and every team he goes to, he wins. I think he's top 5 all time in win shares.
He's also a much better playoff performer too.
Yeah.
I feel like people last year, not last year, but the year that the Suns were in the finals, people were trying to have the conversation of Chris Paul being a top 5 point guard. And I still feel like people have that same similar belief. So with that fact, if he were to win a ring, if he were to be finals MVP in this, of course, hypothetical scenario, it's not insane to say that someone would try and throw him in the top 25 conversation, especially if you're saying that Westbrook has that same chance, which I don't disagree.
This is tough. I'll go Westbrook still stays in top 50. Okay. I think Kawhi top 25. KD, you could sneak him in top 10, but I'll be safe, go top 15. CP3 still stays in top 50. AD still stays in top 50. LeBron GOAT. Curry top 10 certified. Giannis probably top 15. And then
he's
Tatum,
already people have him top 18, top 20 already.
I don't think he jumps to 10. I think he'll probably go like 11, 12. 13.
Would his legacy surpass Kevin Durant in your opinion with another ring and a finals MVP? In your opinion, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I got KD at like 12. So
that's what I'm saying.
That's not top 10 certified.
But you know,
you got KD at top 10 with another ring. Giannis has to be there too, no?
Facts. I agree. That's what I'm saying.
So top 10. And then Tatum.
But you have to kick somebody out. Who's getting kicked out the top 10? Because I wouldn't kick out Shaq if Giannis wins one more ring.
That's what the team too. Damn, fuck. That's why I said top 15 certified. Top 10 maybe. Tatum does not make top 50. He's still a bum.
Respect.
And you guys throw no respect on Chris Paul. Chris Paul will be a top 25 player at the Finals MVP. I think he's the top 3 point guard of all time.
He's not a top 3 point guard of all time.
Yes, he is. That's literally 14
I would
years.
not say he's top 3.
You just said
11 all NBA, 9 all defensive.
Okay, let me ask you.
Isaiah Thomas, Oscar Robinson, Jason Kidd.
Can I ask you one question?
Both of them.
Jason, he's better than Jason Kidd?
Yes.
How?
He's went to 5 different franchises and elevated all of them. I
Jason
think the
Kidd took a
Rockets team
Nets
he was
team
on
to
in
the finals.
2018 is
And
one of
he
the
was a
greatest
big part
teams
of the
to
Mavs
never win a
team.
championship. I know he gets hurt in the playoffs, but at 36 years old a year ago, he was one of the 2 most important players to a 61 team. So his durability and I guess it would be portability is the word, where you can go to any place and be such a high-level floor raiser. He makes you an automatic 45 wins. And when I look at the point guard position, what better two-way player has there been historically? The guy was one of the best. I mean, especially in 2008, he made that Pelican team a 56-win squad. They've never had a better team since he's left.
John Stockton is a two-way point guard.
John Stockton's not his level in the playoffs.
But Jason Kidd, how do you
not in the playoffs? He is not on Chris Paul.
How
many more assists does John Stockton have than Chris Paul? Tom, tell me that right now.
That's longevity.
Chris
Paul's at 11,000. I think.
What do you mean? He
15.
He's the most
season by season basis. John Stockton, he averaged 14 assists.
I mean, he's a Karl Malone merchant. He was just spamming elbow pick and rolls.
Come on. Now you're disrespecting
I
the
think
players
John
that he
Stockton's
played
a great player, but you're overrating him.
Get out of here. No, I'm not overrating him. I'm just saying that John Stockton is a two-way point guard. You act like two-way point guards don't exist. What are we talking about? Jason Kidd is a two-way point guard. Jason Kidd was a better defender than Chris Paul.
He's also a better playmaker than Chris Paul too.
Not a better.
If you're talking about floor raising, Jason Kidd was that. He was the epitome of floor. You're talking about a dude who, oh my God, he went to Houston and he made OKC to the playoffs. Jason Kidd took the Nets team to the finals. Like he was the reason they went to the finals.
Back to one of the worst Eastern Conferences.
Dallas,
he still did.
Wait. What happened when Chris Paul was with the Clippers and blew a 3-1 lead to the Rockets? What happened there? We're gonna sweep that under the rug. What about Game 6 versus OKC, where his turnovers led to them losing?
Then he had being up 2-0 in the finals.
Did he just have 0 against Dallas last year? He just had a 0-point game against Dallas like last year. He was
36 years old.
Everyone had a 0-point game.
I look at that terrible performance, but he's still playing at an All-NBA level at 36.
He's third.
Jason Kidd would have ring
third best point guard of all time. He's not the third best point guard of all time. Isaiah Thomas was the best team on a championship team.
John, he was.
He was
more. 2011, Jason Kidd did not have
was more. Jason Kidd did more for that 2011 team than Chris Paul did for that last year's Suns team in the playoffs. That's a fact.
I disagree personally.
Well, because Chris Paul
this past year's Suns for sure.
But I'm looking at the regular season, not just the playoffs.
No, I'm talking about the playoffs. The playoffs is what matters.
100%. Jason Kidd was way more important to that Dallas team.
And what matters? The playoffs.
For old players, that's what matters. For older players,
so Steph Curry, Magic Johnson, they're obviously above Chris Paul. There's no debate for that. Chris Paul, Isaiah Thomas is a 2-time champion, bro.
Finals MVP. He was Chris Paul before Chris Paul. We just hyping Chris Paul up to being that. I don't know. I think there's a couple.
His prime was half of Chris Paul's, and as a playmaker, while he did have some elite years,
half of Chris Paul's.
What do you mean by half of Chris Paul?
Isaiah Thomas, 5 All-NBA teams to Chris Paul's 11.
Oh, because of you talking about longevity.
Wait, hold up, I'm sorry. Wait, hold up. So longevity matters for Chris Paul versus Isaiah Thomas, but not John Stockton versus Chris Paul.
Well, John Stockton was an inferior player to Chris Paul.
John Stockton, you said the only reason he has more assists was because of longevity. John Stockton routinely
John Stockton played with one of the 5
season
best
basis
players
than
in
Chris
the world.
Paul. John Stockton averages more assists per game than Chris Paul.
If you watch the Jazz in those years, Joel, a lot of those passes were not like he played with Karl Malone and league MVP.
Those assists,
finish, my man.
But he made all those assists.
Joel, let him talk.
He saved Tyson Chandler's career. He helped make players like David West, DeAndre Jordan, DeAndre into way better players at the playoff crucible. John Stockton played with Karl Malone, a top 15, top 20 player of all time, who he could just spam elbow pick and rolls with again and again with shooting. That team was revolutionary, yes, but I'm not taking those John Stockton assist totals and saying, oh, because of that, he's a better playmaker than Chris Paul. He was not on his level in the playoffs.
We're not talking about playmaking. We're talking about assist totals. And you said the assist totals were only because of longevity. That's not true, because on a per game basis, John Stockton averaged more assists per game than Chris Paul.
Yeah, we're just not going to pretend like playing Karl Malone, just spamming elbow pick and rolls and post.
So we're gonna take away points for him playing with a great player.
That's just a little lollygag.
Wait, so tell me, John.
Pass to Karl Malone to
wait, so tell me, John. Was John Stockton? Did he control playing with Karl Malone?
What?
Did he control playing with Karl Malone?
Did he what?
The only thing I understand what he's saying.
So
was
why are we taking away points from him because he played with a great player that he had no control over playing with him? Ultimately, did John Stockton not also help Karl Malone get to third all time in points? Did he not?
John,
help
that's
him?
the statement.
Karl Malone was a great defender.
John Stockton, you said that Chris Paul is one of the only two-way point guards. Jason Kidd is two-way. John Stockton is two-way too. At his time, John Stockton was one of the better defenders at the position in the league. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I'm not debating that point.
I just don't. I don't like the Jason Kidd. I don't like the Jason Kidd disrespect. I don't like the Jason Kidd disrespect.
The Jason Kidd disrespect was crazy. I will say in the 2010-2011 season in the playoffs, his assists in the playoffs did drop a little. It went from like 8 to 7. His points per game were around 9, but he shot 38% from 3.
Chauncey Billups is also another two-way point guard.
His role. That's
Jason Kidd being a walking triple-double in a slow-ass era is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Chauncey Billups also is another two-way point guard, by the way.
Chris Paul clears, though.
No, Chris Paul is better, but Chauncey got the better of him when they faced in the playoffs.
Chauncey, smart. Chauncey wanted
a much better team with the Pistons.
So whenever there was expectations... This is the thing about John.
Denver.
John loves these lovable losers like Damian Lillard and Chris Paul. Like with Dame, he gives them all these excuses. With Chris Paul, listen, all you want to mention is these teams that
John
Chris
Stockton's a lovable loser, to be fair.
Okay, cool. All I'm saying is that, John, you're only talking about Chris Paul and the teams that he maximized, like OKC and the Hornets teams, those early Hornets teams. Okay, that's true. That's all fine. What about those Clippers teams that were ultra talented that failed to make the Western Conference Finals? What about the Rockets and the 2018 Rockets? And him going down was a big reason why they didn't finish the job. His inconsistencies, his injuries in the playoffs. What about this past playoffs with the Suns, where after he turned age 36, he was trash?
36 years old, though. He's still playing.
I know. You're being very critical, Joel. He's older
there's
now.
very few players who are going to be past 36 and still in their prime.
The first 3 games he was wilding.
Yeah, you could say okay.
Wasn't John Stockton an All-NBA defender at 36? And in the finals?
Yeah, that was the year that they that was that 98 season.
Yeah, they went to back-to-back finals, and John
for
Stockton
sure.
old.
For sure.
So why are we playing the old card?
I'm not. John, John's on that side alone, respectfully.
If you look at the playoff performances as a whole in their peaks, Chris Paul is a clearly better player. Come back to me then.
Chris Paul is a better player than John Stockton. I agree. But it's not, I don't think it's a clearing. I think it's neck and neck. I favor Chris Paul, no doubt. But you act like Chris Paul is the only two-way point guard to exist, bro.
Joel, now you're losing me. Joel, I thought the whole argument was to say that John Stockton was better than CP3. But if you went on this whole thing trying to like minimize anything that John was saying, all for the sole fact that the statement he made was, to be fair,
no, he said the statement he's not a top 2 point guard.
Yes.
Isaiah Thomas is better all time than Chris Paul, in my opinion.
Oh,
especially if we're talking about peak for peak. Peak for peak, I think Isaiah Thomas is better than Chris Paul all time.
I agree.
Oscar
Robertson, that's another one.
My argument against John was that he was trying to diminish John Stockton's assists, and he acted like Chris Paul was one of the only two-way point guards in the league. John Stockton has more all-defensive teams than Chris Paul.
Yep, I'm with you.
There was a point where Jason Kidd averaged 15, 11, and 11 in the postseason, and he shot 43% from 3 on 7 attempts.
Not Jason Kidd's amazing.
He was one of a kind. He was a superstar.
Yeah, I just want you to.
And by the way, Joel, that's not true. John Stockton only had 5 all-defensive teams.
First teams. You're talking about first teams.
I love Jason Kidd. That's my dog.
First teams. What about all in totality the teams?
They had to take a deeper scoop.
A deeper scoop.
Bro, there was a let me get this right.
Get it out, kid.
There was a 7-year stretch where John Stockton averaged 13.5 assists per game.
Oh yeah, he was
nutty.
Didn't he have a season he averaged 14 assists?
I think he led the league in steals.
His assists are not longevity assists. Per game basis, he's the leader too.
Well, it's also, to be fair, that both him and Malone played together basically their entire careers.
Yeah, I mean them two.
We don't knock,
a great duo.
We don't knock Magic. We don't knock Magic for playing with James Worthy and Green.
No. I'm not knocking him for it.
We should
John is.
I mean, no, you can't. You can't not
Magic
look
won a
at
lot of
today's NBA,
championships
bro.
and extended
Look at
careers
today's
prime,
NBA. You have stars. You're not winning a fucking championship in today's NBA without a second star. It's not happening.
And also, you're spitting because look at the praise that we just gave James Harden for being what I think the first ever player to have 3 scoring titles and 2 assist titles. But of course, we have to have that conversation with the side of he is next to Joel Embiid, who's most likely going to be the MVP. You have to give credit to what he's doing because it's amazing. But again, it's hard to be successful alone.
You're right, John. He does have 4 more all defensive teams.
Well, Jason Kidd was. He had Richard fucking Jefferson.
But John Stockton
Keith
led the
Van
league in
Horn.
Vince Carter.
He led the league in
that's
assists
before
more than
that's
Chris
before.
Paul.
That's before. You're right.
And that's where helping Carmelo helps him average more assists in that Utah offense where it was those 2 guys. I think John Stockton's durability doesn't get enough love, but the assist totals are a little bit misleading. There is a reason he was not in the top 5 in the MVP race any of those years, and Malone was.
It's
And I
not
don't
like
wanna
John was a
discredit
slouch
him.
scoring.
I'm
though,
saying all
too.
that to make the point. John Stockton's a top 10, maybe top 7 point guard of all time, but he's not top 3 or top 4.
Well, listen, it's one thing to okay, the assist argument is fine and whatever. If John Stockton's lead on the all-time assist leader was maybe 1,000 or 2,000, I get it. He has the lead by like 6,000 assists, bro.
Yeah, that's some shit that might never get reached.
It's not just but even at his years where his assist totals were his lowest, they match Chris Paul's at his highest.
John, I'll ask the panel honestly. In terms of best passers of all time, I think we have Magic number 1. I'm assuming he's everyone's consensus best passer ever. I'll just throw a couple more names down. I want you guys to rank them. So we have, of course, Magic. I'll throw LeBron into this conversation. I'll throw Jason Kidd.
LeBron is not a top 5 passer.
Okay. All right. I'm interesting.
No,
that is interesting.
Not
No,
saying
that's
he's not
fine.
great. Before LeBron fans,
No, I'm not going crazy, but he is 4th in assists, to be fair. And he still is a great splashy passer in his own right.
Assist total, like we just said, Magic is number 1, and he's not.
I think he's a top 5 passer of all time.
I agree too. I think he is.
No, I think he's like 7 or 6.
I think he's a better passer than Chris Paul.
Let me just get these names out, and then we can have the conversation. So we'll go Magic. Mm-hmm. We'll go John. We'll go LeBron. We'll go Chris Paul. We'll go Jason Kidd. Rank those 5.
Steve Nash is a better passer than Chris Paul to me.
Magic Johnson is the best passer ever, in my opinion.
I think Magic Johnson is number 1.
I'm taking LeBron number 2. Listen,
I agree. I
think Steve Nash, I think John Stockton, I think Chris Paul, they all are great passers, but what gives LeBron the edge is that he can see over any defense ever.
I don't know if I was being biased because LeBron's been in our lives. We've actually watched him play.
I don't think that's
I
biased.
feel the same way.
I would have
to hear you say you don't think he's a top 7. He's like that's where you'd have him top 7,
like 6, 7. I don't like. There's a lot of elite.
So who do you have over him in your opinion?
I would probably have Magic over him. I think Jason Kidd's
Someone
a better
said
passer.
Joker. I'm crying.
I think
Jokic is a top 5 passer.
Is Joker not a top 5 passer of all time?
5?
Yeah.
I think Steve Nash.
If you're factoring in durability,
no, I think
he's
for
the
any
best passing
position,
big of all time. He's the best passing big
I don't know
ever.
if he's top 5 yet, though.
You want to why else? I think it's because Jokic is being guarded by centers. And so if he's playing not always back to the basket, he's at the top of the key, he's working from different angles and in transition. If the center is guarding him, he's not going to be able to protect the rim if he hits him with a filthy behind the back or a backdoor pass to an Aaron Gordon rolling. And so the positional scarcity of a center that passes at an elite level, it does create more advantages than a point guard.
Yeah, I just don't put him top 5 just yet.
Jokic
you
is
should have the
definitely
argument
top 5.
for sure.
Jokic will most definitely end up a top 5 passer. I can understand if you have hesitancy putting him in there already.
Dehls, what does he have to show you to make him a top 5 passer? He's going to show you.
I just think we're talking about all these guys who are some of the fucking best. Mostly it's a point guards, but some of the best passers and for years and years and years. It's kind of similar.
I thought Drew was asking like just skill for skill. Who's the?
I'm talking skill. Skill.
I wasn't even thinking of numbers. I was just thinking.
I think Jokic is a better passer than John Stockton. Skill for skill, I do.
Yeah, I would agree. But if you're going to factor in durability, Stockton would be above Joker's.
I think Jokic, when we talk about like assist leaders is one thing, but Jokic's ability to make cross-court passes, him at 7 foot to pass the ball the way he does, to see over any defense. I think I favor taller passers. They might not be as flashy
You know
as
your height
Steve
is.
Nash's or Chris Paul, but I favor taller passers because they can see more openings in the defense.
I don't know because I think
You love taller people.
Rajon Rondo can make the same passes the Joker can make at 6'2". I think that's more impressive than a 7-footer being able to make those passes. The fact
That's a
that
good point,
Rondo
Riv.
can do that at 6'3", I think is a little bit more impressive. But I'm not saying you're wrong enough like that. But
I
We
feel
ain't
like
granted
it's
it's
important.
unimpressive,
I
though.
mean, we're talking about also a player in Jokic who,
yeah,
behind the Kings, they have the second best offense rating in NBA history, led by Jokic's passing.
no, yeah, he's. I'm not. It's we're splitting hairs. There's no dizzy. Joker's one of the best passes ever.
I think you made a good point though, Riv, because obviously both sides, you could see both sides, and ironically, we're called pick a side. But the fact that Jokic is 7 feet tall, making the passes that he does, he's incredible in his own right. Where Rajon Rondo, being a 6'2", let me not say undersized, but of course, smaller players, being able to be the passer that he was, that is extremely impressive.
But Rondo's not as good as a passer as Jokic, though.
It's close. It's close.
Put
It's
some
very
respect
close.
Rondo. Respect
No,
Rondo.
that's crazy. Not as good.
Yeah,
That's kind of crazy. Rondo
No,
is
he's
an
not.
elite passer.
He's
Yeah,
well.
you're talking about skill. Rondo is in that conversation.
Rondo
for
is
sure.
one of the best passers of the game,
Rondo's
for sure.
numbers aren't helping him, but watching him play, Rondo's an elite passer.
He was
Like,
so good as a
elite.
passer. His scoring got better with these fucking fake behind the back passes, getting open layups, bro. That's how good of a passer this man really was.
Listen, that's a flashy pass. I've seen Jokic make that same pass. I've seen Jokic make better passes.
All right, so are we going to rank them, or are we just going to end this conversation? So we're going Magic 1. I'm going to have LeBron 2. Any disagreements?
Listen, I have Jokic 3.
I would
All right,
have.
he wasn't included, but I guess we could just include Jokic. I'm fine with it.
Like I'm gonna have Magic, LeBron, Jokic. Those are my top 3 Mount Rushmore passers of all time.
Yeah, that's. I don't. That's hot. So where's Larry Bird?
I might go Jason Kidd. 3.
Jokic
I would
is a
take
better
Kidd
passer
before
than-
Stockton at
Hey,
4.
but if you value taller players, is Larry Bird in your top 5?
That's another player you have to mention.
I wouldn't say he's top 5. He's top 10 to 12.
Nah,
My
I
top
Larry
5
Bird, he's not my top 5. No.
Okay.
My top 5 is Magic 1, Jokic at number 2 because of the
What are
value.
we doing?
The
What do you mean the value?
I just
What do you mean
value?
the
died
value,
at
John?
value. Bro just
Oh
pulled
my
that out of his
God.
ass.
What are we-
He doesn't
what
even
are
know
we
what
doing?
Jokic is not a
LeBron
better
at 2, but-
passer than LeBron James.
Yeah, yes. Nikola
How?
Jokic is a better passer than LeBron James.
LeBron's
As
made
opposed-
every single pass that Jokic has.
Jokic can do it to an even greater level at 6'11". And this isn't a shot at
LeBron-
LeBron. I just think Jokic
Come
is a
on.
more
6'8".
dynamic passer with better vision, better feel, and that's saying something. LeBron's top 2 player of all
Better
time.
I
vision?
was gonna say.
Better vision.
Yeah,
LeBron
we're talking
arguably
about
has the
maybe the-
best vision.
I mean, the
in
guy's
the
playing
history of the
5-dimensional
game.
chess out there, Drill.
So is
LeBron's playing
LeBron
4D.
James. You're making
Jokic
my
is at
eyes
5D.
bulge. All right, you're gonna need to relax. My eyes are
Did
bulging
you
out of
stick
my
the
head.
middle finger up at him, or were you?
Did I? No,
I
man,
did.
I was
Like,
just pointing with my hand.
Bro,
Jokic and LeBron, Drew, are in the same tier to me. And
You're-
the same goes with Jason Kidd. At number 5, I would have Steve Nash, and
I
John
don't-
Stockton would be right next to him. At
I,
like
I don't
5,
know.
6.
I don't know why this is such a hot take. Jokic should be possibly a 3-time MVP, and one of the biggest
Just said
pros
it,
about
he
his
was
game is his passing. Peak
For
for
sure.
peak, Jokic, you can put him up against any top playmaker of all time, and he is definitely top 3. The way he's being an engine for his offense.
I'm not saying it's a hot take. I'm personally not saying it's a hot take. I'm just gonna have Jokic at 4 for right now. Where
Rondo's
he can
never led
easily-
an offense as good as Jokic.
Rondo's
No.
never had. Yeah, that's true. You can say
No.
that.
It's also a different era. Like we're not.
And
it's
you can't even
completely
say he's
different
never had the
circumstances.
personnel because let's be honest, it's not all glamours and everything
It's different.
over there in Denver
You
with
can't
Jamal
take a
and MPJ.
2008 offense compared to a 2023 offense. Of
That's
course,
a
not.
good
Also,
point,
Rondo,
Joel. That's a good point.
Rondo was not the catalyst of the Celtics' big 3 offense.
But he
No,
was
but
the
we're- I'm
initiator.
not
He
gonna-
was-
but I'm-
Jokic's a better
backup
player, for
role.
sure.
He played a backup role, but most of his assists came off of pin down screens and
But why are we
things that were set
forgetting?
for those players.
He was
Why
a
are we
very
forgetting
creative passer, even
after
outside
the
of-
Boston?
Yeah, his life
like,
after Boston.
Yeah,
Life
we
after
know,
No,
Boston.
he became an all-star. He was amazing for sure, but Rondo
Yeah, he
never
was-
led top offenses.
No, Rondo's not a top 5 passer. That's not what I'm saying. No.
No.
Rondo's not a top 5 passer.
I don't think he's top 10.
Oh, he might be like 10-9. He might crack in there.
Nash, Jason Kidd, Chris Paul are all over him. I think Trae
Jason
Young's a
Kidd is
better passer.
arguably-
Trae Young's a
Jason-
better passer all time than Rondo.
Yeah, you're looking at numbers. That
No, I'm
right
not.
there
What do you
shows
mean?
me. No,
If
that right there
You're
shows me.
you telling me Rondo's a better passer than Trae Young's. You looking at numbers. Trae
How?
Young has led top offenses before.
Trae Young has better.
Trae Young is a
spacing,
28.
and Trae Young has the ball more than
Trae Young is a
Rondo.
28 and 10 guy since he is
What
second
does
in the league,
28
bro.
points have to do
He's
with
also the
assist?
offense, bro. Rondo was playing with
why are you bringing up
Trae Young
Ray
is
Allen. He
averaging
didn't
10
have the
assists
ball
per
in his hand
game
like
since
that.
he was.
You
a
just brought
sophomore
up
in the league.
MVPs and points per game for better passer. You know you just did that, right?
I'll
You
say
only
this
point
one,
to be
Powell.
fifth-time MVP
Trae Young
was
has been
pushing
averaging 10
Embiid the
assists
last
per
2
game
months.
since his second season in the league.
So wait, who's a better passer, Rondo or Westbrook?
I think Westbrook's a better playmaker for sure.
I would talk about passing. Who's a better passer?
I think passing, this is where it gets so diluted though, because passing is, when you think about passing, you just think about these circus passes that guys make, and you think about Rondo and his behind the back stuff. Listen, those are all great. If we're talking about circus passing, then Jason Williams should be at the top of most people's lists. Realistically, Rondo has not led top offenses. Russell Westbrook has not led top offenses when he was by himself in OKC, but you have seasons where in Houston, where with Kevin Durant, he was a top playmaker in the league. Trae Young is a better playmaker than Rajon Rondo, and I
We're
value
talking about
playmaking.
passing.
we're talking about
changing
passing.
the question.
Passing is a cog of playmaking. Playmaking is the overall nucleus of what passing is supposed
Yes,
to
but
be.
we're talking about passing though.
You're also not
playmaking. Absolutely, no doubt.
You're not taking into
God.
account guys, the players or who they're playing with. They're talking about Rondo's not leading top offense.
So
but
is Trae Young a better playmaker than Rajon Rondo?
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand the difference.
So how is he not a
How
is he not a better passer then?
No, I understand the
because
difference.
when you're
in
talking
playmaking
Trae
and
Young,
passing.
his scoring ability is so much greater than Rondo's. His gravity is just bigger.
Correct.
His defense has to key into him more.
But that's not true, bro. I understand the gravity portion of it, but ultimately, Trae Young can make these cross-court passes at 6'1" that, I mean, listen, I don't think Rondo was making the same passes.
Not consistently.
He's Trae Young's making it from the right wing to the left corner with consistency. Like
Rondo was doing that. Rondo was doing that the year that he was. No, Rondo was doing that, especially the bubble too, where LeBron did not have to play as much point guard because of the minutes that Rajon was providing us off the bench. And you want to talk numbers, even still in a reduced role, Rajon was still averaging almost 7 assists with us come playoff time.
Trae Young, since being in the NBA in his second season, has been amongst the league leaders in assists per game and potential assists per game.
All right, so if we're going to go by statistics, right, in terms
Stockton's
of assists, okay, exactly.
Stockton's the best passer ever. Yeah, it's like, what are we doing, bro?
In the playoffs, Rajon had a year where he averaged over 12 assists a game.
There's a difference though, because John Stockton, like John was mentioning, is the second player on his team. He's playing off another superstar.
Is Trae Young a better passer than LeBron?
No.
Okay. Saying he has more assists than LeBron since year
yes,
2.
but LeBron has led top offenses. The assists aren't the most
you're
important.
Saying specifically assists.
No, the assists, but no. Trae Young has also led top offenses, though. He's led top 3 offenses in the NBA. LeBron has led top offenses for his career. What do you mean what year? It was just 2 years ago when they made the ECF.
I said 1 year. Like right now,
he's been in the league 5 seasons.
Okay, to be fair,
to
be fair, Dehls and Joel, we have to take into account usage rate. Rondo's never had a usage rate higher than 24.6.
No way.
No way.
Young has 28.
Maybe that's a conversation 32. Of he never deserved to be used that much.
There's just scorers you want. It's a different era, 1 and 2. There's just scorers you want the ball in their hands. So it's like you're looking at assists per game and points per game, and that's understandable. But if we're just talking about skill for skill, Rondo can make the exact same passes Trae Young can make. The only difference is they ran different offenses. Just because he didn't run a top offense doesn't necessarily mean he's not an elite.
You're saying Rondo can make the same passes Trae Young can make. The only difference is that Trae Young was making it more consistently, and yeah, that's it. He was making it more consistently.
Well, because he has the ball in his hands more.
And what about James Harden? James Harden is a better passer than Rajon Rondo pretty easily.
I think James Harden is a better passer than Trae Young.
I agree with both.
I do too.
I agree with both.
I'm not taking just assist totals into account, but we're talking about Rondo, who's never really been the number 1 on his offensive team. He's never really been that. He's been I think one time in Boston in 2011, and then I think back in 2014 or 2015 in Sacramento.
because he's a pure point guard. Pure point guards are usually in that time not the number one option.
That's a fact.
They're not. They're not. That's not what they are.
Was Steve Nash a pure point guard at the time?
Steve Nash wasn't. He wasn't the number one.
I was going to say he wasn't. I literally was just about to use that as an example.
Look at his usage
on
those
best
Suns
passer,
teams.
but he was not the number one option.
Steve Nash was the catalyst of those Suns teams. That's why he won 2 MVPs. How are you not a number one option? You win 2 MVPs.
He was.
You don't have to be the number one option.
Amari Stoudemire could average more points per game. That does not mean he's the catalyst of the offense. Steve Nash was the catalyst.
I'm looking at. Wait.
Is James Harden the catalyst of the offense?
Drew, I'm looking at his usage rate. Steve Nash usage rate looks exactly like Rajon Rondo's. Exactly like his. He actually never got over. He got over his first. So in Phoenix, it was 20.5, 23, 23, 22, 21, 23, just like Rondo's.
And Steve Nash was significantly more effective than him.
Yeah, but you made it seem like he was getting the same usage rate. He wasn't.
No, I'm talking about as Amari Stoudemire.
Let's see. Let's look at Amari right now.
Because if I'm pretty sure Amari Stoudemire usage rate is not higher than Steve Nash, especially on those Suns teams. And right now on this Philadelphia 76ers team, is Embiid the best player? Yes. Is James Harden the catalyst of the offense? Absolutely, yes, he is.
That's like they like a 1A, 1B thing. I don't think that's a definitive.
No, but Harden is the
I wouldn't say if Embiid's off, the Sixers don't got a chance to do shit.
That's not necessarily true.
I think it's a 1A, 1B
when Embiid hasn't played this season.
I think it's a 1A, 1B
I think you're just having an off game rather than if you're just not playing, you have other options.
No, Embiid is a great player. He is the best player on that team. But in terms of the catalyst of the offense, it's James Harden. He's the one who sets everybody up in the offense. He is the guy in the offense that makes everything go.
Embiid's also the best player Harden's ever going to play with because he makes his life easy as shit in pick and roll. Just drop off a little simple pocket pass to him. He's a knockdown 12-footer after 12-footer.
Yes, and
one last thing to wrap this up. Rondo is a better passer than Westbrook, and a huge part of that's turnovers. Rondo at his prime was averaging less than 3. Westbrook was averaging over 4. And when it comes to just IQ, vision, and control, I trust Rondo a lot more as a passer. But Westbrook, yes, because he's a much better player, would be the better playmaker. But we're having a passing discussion. Rondo is the better passer.
When it comes to Westbrook is definitely a better playmaker than Rondo. The difference that you're talking about, though, is that most of Westbrook's assists come off of kickouts. They come off of penetrating the defense and kicking out the basketball, where it's other passers don't necessarily. That's not what they are.
Is Trae Young? This is me asking. Is Trae Young's assists not kickouts and pick and rolls with Clint Capella?
I think it's more than that because Trae Young's not as athletic as Russell Westbrook.
No, I'm talking about the year where when they led they were a top 3 offense. I forgot the exact number, but they like a top. Wasn't it just straight kickouts and Clint Capella, John Collins pick and roll? Which was primarily there was a lot of Spain and roll sprinkled in there, but I think that it's difficult because with Trae Young, he is somebody who's seeing doubles consistently, and he's somebody who still has to make the right passes and the right reads. Where Russell Westbrook, I don't think was seeing that amount of doubles. Yeah, I get that definitely.
And Rondo was never seeing those doubles, so Rondo was very rarely able to having to make these difficult reads and passes that these other top options on their team had to make.
Shit, Dehls saw him in that 2017 playoff series. He's lucky he got hurt.
I just want the next topic, man. We've been talking about this shit for 45 minutes.
This from VA Sports.
It was a good topic, honestly.
Drew, what would be worse? Russell Wilson sucking again, even with pain, or the Lakers missing the playoffs this season? Also, let's go.
Shout out to VA Ports. Very cool Twitter account that interacts with me from time to time. So I want to give him that love. But I guess what would hurt more, of course, is the Lakers missing the playoffs this season, because I still firmly believe that they're still good enough to compete to come out of the Western Conference. So, yes, that would definitely be most disappointing, especially with everything that I've been saying, voting in my favor come post All-Star break with the Lakers. Everything's been hitting on all cylinders so far. So for us to miss the playoffs would be extremely disheartening.
Next super chat, Christopher D. Cat folds like a lawn chair. Rudy got hands of a little French woman. Timberwolves are sunk. All disrespect, Joel.
Hey.
He's not wrong. The hands point.
Listen, they got to move off Gobert if they can.
More excited matchups: Cavs versus Knicks or Suns versus Clippers. I'm going to say Cavs Knicks. Yeah.
Suns Clippers might be a 5-game series. Let's keep it stacked.
E Chapo, Joel, your Twitter header makes it nasty. He said he's happy in Dallas.
Is it Luka in a Knick jersey?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Get a life.
Q Bogavelli, let's cut the nonsense. Lakers minus 15.
Ball knower. Love my dude, Q.
Santos, take my money.
And that was after he said the guy said to save your money. So Santos,
take
W supporter.
Deco, take my money, handsomes. Duran Faust. Dehls, should I get the Larry O'Brien trophy tattooed on my leg or arm after the Celtics win it?
God damn. I'm going to get a tattoo of Jason Tatum on my leg, probably. Tough.
This from Teeks. What do you guys think is the difference between being a ball handler and just simply having great handles? Ball handlers, I think of LeBron and Magic. I think it comes down to ball security and turnover rate.
Yeah. You can be flashy, doesn't mean you're exactly a good facilitator.
I think you see Jamal Crawford kind of has loose ball handling, but it's a lot of moves, as a lot of guys that have ball handling are a little bit more tighter with the ball. So I think that's what it is.
Anthony Saldana. Drew, have you seen the new episode of Demon Slayer? Also, you and Joel should check out this show called Hell's Paradise. It just came out. It'll be fire.
I haven't watched it yet because me and my brother were planning on watching it this week. A movie came out, but it was basically just the entertainment arc with just the first episode sprinkled in at the end. So I decided to wait for the first episode to come out, but I cannot wait. I know that this season's about to be fire. But Hell's Paradise, I will keep in mind. I'm almost done with Dragon Ball Z. I have 3 episodes left, and then I have all of Super to grind through, but maybe I'll take a look into this before I lock into Super.
Now, Q Bogavelli goes, go look at Amari Stoudemire's usage rate.
Did you ever pull them up, Riv?
Oh, yes, I did. It was lower than Steve Nash. It was close, but it was lower. His was at
How close?
18. His was at 18, 19.
So 22 to 18, 22 to 19. I mean, that's pretty close.
Va Ports, John, will Pickens and Deontay both go for 1K this season?
Now I'm Matt Canada. I think Deontay will get back to 1,000. He'll probably score a touchdown as well next year, which would be good. Pickens, I don't think so. He has that in store, just not in year 2. With how
a couple years down the line,
it's going to be a run-first offense. I'd say.
Dehls and Drew, you guys still think Deontay is better than DJ Moore?
DJ Moore's got it right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm just going to go flat out say no and take the L on this one.
Cool.
He was better last year.
Next year.
He was better. And also, I'll say this. DJ was okay this season. DJ was okay.
Name his quarterback and I'll wait.
Sam Darnold, Joel's guy.
Come on, bro. He sucks.
Listen, Dehls owns a Sam Darnold jersey.
Nuts.
I don't.
Deontay
had Bell, Jamal Adams, Elijah Moore.
I have all the Jets quarterbacks: Mark Sanchez, Darnold, Geno, Zach Wilson, baby.
Aaron Rodgers next.
Yeah, Joe Douglas said he's going to come. Now, before we go on to the next topic, a quick word from Athletic Greens. If a comprehensive solution is what you're looking for, then Athletic Greens is the way to go. Athletic Greens is giving you a 10% off your first purchase and 5 free travel packs when you order Athletic Greens. You got to go to athleticgreens.com/pickaside. That's athleticgreens.com/pickaside. And Drew, you're back from Disney. You weren't able to take Athletic Greens with you, but how are you feeling right now?
Amazing. And it's so great that you asked me because I wanted to say this so terribly. I missed Athletic Greens very, very badly. And it's funny, too, because my friends will joke about it because I have such a terrible stomach that they watched the episode where I said I didn't have my AG1 and I had my stomach was killing me all vacation. And they would just joke and say, bro, it's because you don't have your AG. It's because you don't have your AG. And it's a fact because I got back today. I got back on Sunday night and obviously I went to the gym today, took my AG1. And I'm just feeling so much better, thank God. But really, it's really crazy how much of a difference it makes me feel.
So Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/pickaside. That's athleticgreens.com/pickaside. Go check it out. Now, going on to our second topic of the show, an hour and 30 minutes in. Rudy Gobert punches Kyle Anderson. And the reason for this, and everybody was kind of wondering why it happened. So the reason why Rudy Gobert punched Kyle Anderson is because they were arguing in the huddle Kyle Anderson told him to block some shots, and Rudy Gobert told him to get some rebounds. And Kyle Anderson just said, "Shut the F up, B word," to Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert swung at him, and the Timberwolves sent him home, and he has been suspended for Tuesday's playing game against the Lakers. I'm not going to lie. This was tragic. I think that the Minnesota and Utah trade already looks like an all-time bad trade. Just when you look at the assets that the Timberwolves gave up for Rudy Gobert, Walker Kessler probably could have replicated Rudy's production this year. 4 first-round picks unprotected, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, all solid rotational players. And people don't talk about this enough, but the Rudy Gobert trade led to the Lakers turnaround this season indirectly as well, which makes me sick to my stomach. The worst part about this trade is that not only did you trade so much for Rudy Gobert, who's on a Supermax deal, by the way, Rudy is getting paid $41 million through 2026. Kyle Anderson's contract after next season expires. Next year, he's on a 1-year, $9 million deal. 2024, he's an unrestricted free agent. It feels like the locker room does not like Rudy Gobert. It feels like the team does not like him. So you traded away so many assets for a player who, one, does not help your on-court product. The Wolves are better with him off the court, and the locker room does not get better with him as well. So now you're looking at a scenario where you have to make a decision this summer. And Kyle Anderson even said that. An employee of the Timberwolves recorded him, and Kyle Anderson said, "Y'all kiss his butt way too much. The fuck is wrong with y'all? Y'all got a decision to make this summer." And the decision might be to trade Gobert. And I don't know how they trade Gobert, but if the Wolves have to trade him 1 year after acquiring him for so much, this is already an all-time disastrous trade, but it'll just put the cherry on top as the worst ever.
You've got the part where
it sucks.
The Timberwolves might have gotten the second best center in that trade too. And I actually am dumbfounded they suspended him. Why? Because you acquired him to make it to the playoffs, and you make this an even bigger story for people to magnify by suspending him. Now it's harder to move on.
He punched his teammate
in the shoulder. And Dehls,
nah, stop it, Joel. Don't be soft. He hit him with one of these. It was soft.
He hit him in the shoulder, and that's a terrible look. It shows the guy can't handle.
It seems like that was something that was brewing because you saw the way Taurean Prince reacted. He didn't.
Exactly.
He didn't break that up. He pushed Gobert.
He did push Gobert. He did push Gobert.
Like I don't. The thing is, John, I'm gonna let you go real quick. All I'm saying is this might be something that was brewing in the locker room, that there's some sort of animosity towards Gobert. And I think that Taurean Prince reaction kind of speaks to it. Because if that was just a one-off thing, I don't think he gets suspended. But there seems to be some sort of built-up something there that led to it.
That's a great point, because Prince was ready to defend slow-mo. You know what? I actually think the Timberwolves get better without Gobert because of his deficiencies. But ultimately, suspending him makes this an even bigger storyline. And the more negative press on him, the harder it is to move him in the offseason. And let's be honest now, with Rudy this year, they've gotten better defensively. He's an elite rim protector. But as Kyle Anderson was saying, everyone wants to kiss his ass because of what he did in Utah. But this year, shot blocking totals have been cut in half, and he's not the same player at 30 years old. Offensively, you're better without him. But I think the bigger point you made, Joel, is that his teammates don't like him. In Utah, there was a lack of, we talked about this with Quinn Snyder, discipline and just poise in close, huge moments. In Minnesota, we saw that again this year. It doesn't seem like Rudy Gobert can handle pressure well. And it also seems like players don't respect him. Maybe that's because of his lack of offensive skill. I mean, god damn, I have never seen an all-star with as bad hands. If you hit him below the waist, he can't catch a basketball. That's a pretty big issue for a guy you want to be the starting center on a championship team. But I'm just really dumbfounded Minnesota made this worse by suspending him in a playing game to where you lose it, it's do or die. You can miss the playoffs. All things considered, this is not what Minnesota was looking for in the offseason when they traded 5 picks to get him.
Undoubtedly. John, sorry.
Go ahead, Riv. No, go ahead, Riv.
Undoubtedly, we know Minnesota pulled the trigger too fast. They got a little excited with the play-in. They went in, they choked a couple games against Memphis, and they thought, no, this is a team that we can potentially get to the next hump. They thought Rudy was it. It wasn't. I'd even argue Walker Kessler with Jaden McDaniels and Ant Edwards probably makes this defense look probably the same. Offensively, they look better. So, but, you know, hindsight in 2020 looks great. Definitely, though, the punch was it was odd, because I feel like a conversation between your teammates on a bench. We've seen scuffles. We've seen Jimmy Butler get into it with his coach. We've seen Draymond and KD. We've seen scuffles on the bench. We see Mario Chalmers and LeBron. We've seen scuffles on the bench. This is nothing new. But I think why people are zoning in on this is because Rudy, your teammates already don't like you. You're already known universally around the league as some not just your teammates. There's players in the NBA that genuinely just don't like you and don't respect your game. And then for you to kind of do this and whatever they was arguing about, it probably wasn't that important for you to hit him, or probably wasn't that big for you to hit him in a most important game. Like even with the shits that happened before with the Draymond, KD, those weren't important games. This is an important not do or die, but very important game against the Pels. You're down, you got to rally, and you go out and you punch your teammate, and you kind of put yourself in position where now you can't compete with your guys. You can't finish the game with them. Now you have to get kicked out the game. I think that's pretty selfish. I think that's immature. That's irresponsible. And the way he moved and how he handled it was not good. And now Kyle Anderson is hilarious for saying it's me and him this offseason. Mad funny for that. But, listen.
Who would you rather have?
The Wolves wish they could make the decision that easily.
I mean, Kyle Anderson on $8 million. I'm taking that. Kyle Anderson on $8 million. Comfortable, but Minnesota, it sucks because a year later, you're now in a situation where you have to move Rudy Gobert. There's just there's no way of spinning it. You have to move him.
This is an interesting conversation because I'll tell you what, John, you made an excellent point. I agree. I believe that suspending Rudy Gobert only heightens this, where people are already talking about Rudy Gobert in a negative way, in a negative light, because of how when we see him on the court with Karl-Anthony Towns, the offense simply gets worse. And of course, defensively, he's supposed to be one of the best defensive anchors in the game. And this year, defensively, he's been solid, but he hasn't been the Rudy Gobert that we've seen of the last 3-4 seasons. The one thing I will say, though, to defend Rudy in this one specific scenario is he did not start this. Kyle Anderson came to him, said, hey, block some shots, while Gobert was already playing through injury. And so then he said, hey, why don't you go get some boards? He came back with a comment of his own. And then Slow-Mo basically tells him, shut the fuck up. Don't talk to me like that. Shut the fuck up, bitch, on top of it, too. Not only tells him to shut up, but he also calls him a bitch in the same light.
Allegedly.
As a man, allegedly. You're 100% right. We're just going based off what we're being told. But I guess from what we actually did see, we do see Gobert go and take a swing at Kyle Anderson. And to be fair, Joel, you're also right. Taurean Prince did not go and try and separate him. No, he straight up pushed Gobert. He said, get out of here. And then Gobert was sent to the locker room. So I agree with that sentiment of maybe there's something bigger than what's going on and what we just see maybe in the background. Guys really don't take a liking to Gobert because they feel like he's a negative to the team on the court, and it's making them dislike him off the court. And I think that's unfair to Rudy because we understand Rudy's role and how he's supposed to work in a team. And it is not Rudy's fault that Minnesota decided to go out and trade 5 first-round picks, to go out and trade Vando, trade Walker Kessler, to trade Patrick Beverly. That's not Gobert's fault. That was Minnesota's decision, understanding, as we all understood, that this was not a great fit for Rudy Gobert to come into. How was Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert both supposed to coexist together on an offense? It was already a question mark in hand. So, yes, it's been very easy to criticize Gobert, especially for the history and how people already don't take a liking to him as much already for what happened during COVID and how he, quote unquote, started the lockdown. So, yes, there's already animosity and disdain towards Rudy Gobert, but I feel like in this situation specifically where he's already playing hurt, we understand that the fit itself is not a good one at all. What is Rudy? I agree. Rudy should not have thrown a punch. No way, no how. I don't agree with that. That's your teammate. That's one of your brothers. You should not treat him that way. But I feel like a lot of this animosity, a lot of this hate is getting thrown onto Rudy Gobert's name, where yes, his play may not be up to standards, but what is he really to do when it's not his fault Minnesota went out and made one of the worst trades we're ever going to see?
Despite how much of a mess this is, I've actually been very impressed with Minnesota. I have.
Of course, I don't disagree. Honestly, that's a very firm statement.
To come back, I understand.
The amount of adversity that they've went through this season. I mean, for one, Gobert punched Anderson, and they were down 48 to 36 at that point in time. The Timberwolves came back and won the game.
Insane.
Right?
Insane.
But not only that, but the adversity I've went through, for example, Cat has missed basically the entire year. The Rudy Gobert integration in itself was tough. D'Angelo Russell had one of the historically bad starts to a season that we've seen. I mean, he was ridiculously awful. And you had injuries to key role players all season. Jordan McLaughlin, Taurean Prince, now Naz Reid is out. Jaden McDaniels is out. And despite the Wolves making this all-time bad trade, there's still a way out for them to actually come out on top at all this because they have talent. Like, they're not a talentless team. And it's crazy to think about it this way because if they had not traded Gobert, the influx of talent on this team would just be that much greater. But you still have Anthony Edwards. You still have McDaniels. You still have Cat. You still have Naz Reid, who's one of the better backup centers in the league, who could be a starting center. Kyle Anderson is a Swiss Army knife forward who was a great offseason addition. Like, imagine if this team just had Vando and Walker Kessler and Malik Beasley. And I'm not even mentioning young players like Wendell Moore, who I think is going to be a serviceable role player in this league. Like,
Josh Minot.
Yeah, Josh Minot's all right too, I guess. But I'm more so like Wendell Moore. The Timberwolves still have talent to turn this thing around. Even if they can flip Gobert for even if they can flip him for a quarter of what they spent for him, I think they are still in a good position given that they have, I think, two young wings in Edwards and McDaniels who they can build around. And listen, with Cat, maybe he stays healthy going forward more consistently because when he's been healthy, they've made the playoffs. But I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves are totally in the gutter. But they do have to make a decision on Rudy Gobert because he's the one that I think is holding this all back from actually reaching its potential.
You still have the ability to build around and McDaniels, but this Gobert trade kind of limits your future flexibility. Trading all of those first-round picks, trading young players, trading movable contracts. So you still have the ability to move around or to build around these guys, but you're making it a lot harder on yourself. And the Gobert punch, I think he deserves to get suspended, not only because you punch a teammate, but I also think that if this was a different scenario where his teammates liked him and they actually were able to get behind him and vouch for him, it'd be a different conversation. If Kyle Anderson was able to go to the coach or the front office and say, listen, we're boys, we got into it, but let's move on, I don't think they suspend him. But the fact that they have had these problems in the past, now you're going to punch your teammate, I think that was just the final straw to say, okay, we're not going to have you on the court in a must-win game. And in some sense, it does make basketball sense because, as we've mentioned throughout the show, he's not the best fit for this team. I had these questions in August, September, whenever the trade was, right away. How is Gobert going to fit next to Cat? When you're closing the lineup, how is Gobert going to fit? When you're in a 7-game series, how is he going to fit in this lineup when defense is going to be able to expose him? So I had all of these questions going into the season. And obviously, Cat going down changes a lot about this Timberwolves team. But you look at last season, they had more wins. They were a higher seed. Now, if Cat stays healthy, you probably do have more wins. But the fact that you go out and trade all of these pieces, in a sense, it's like if we have a major injury, I would hope the guy I'm trading 5 or 6 first-round picks for can make up for that injury. And Gobert can't do it. Now, that's not incredibly fair because he's not the offensive player that can carry a team. And defensively, it hurts because Walker Kessler goes to Utah and is phenomenal and could be a future All-NBA defender who's going to be making no money for the next 3 or 4 seasons. So it seems like everything that's happened since the Gobert trade just compounds on itself. At first, you had the questions of fit. Then Cat goes down. He's not able to really replicate, obviously, anything Cat does offensively, defensively, no type of player he is. And then you put the cherry on top. He's not fitting personality-wise with this Minnesota team. So I think at some point you have to look at the cost of Gobert and just realize it's a sunk cost. You're not going to be able to trade him and get fucking 5 first-round picks. Hell no. With his contract, with his declining play, I mean, he's still a good player, but obviously not someone who's going to be worth 5 or 6 first-round picks. So at this point, if I'm Minnesota, I'm looking to move off him and just bite the bullet and get whatever I can for him and hope I could get some sort of flexibility, some sort of future draft capital or any young player at this point, because right now he's a negative asset. And if I'm able to move off him for anything, it's better than nothing.
I think
Would
that's
you
tough,
rather?
though. Oh, my fault.
would you rather be the Timberwolves or the Mavericks right now? If you had to, like, you're a GM and they're just telling you fix this team. Would you rather be Minnesota or Dallas?
Dallas. Dallas has all of their first round picks, minus one in
That's the big
2029. Yeah, per
No,
Kyrie.
they don't.
top
They
five
don't.
player.
No, they
That's
don't.
They have
not true.
the Knicks. The Knicks have their top 10 protected for
The Knicks will get
They
their
do have a
pick next year.
90% chance of keeping that now that they've tanked
But
successfully.
the Knicks get
yeah,
it
but
next year.
it's top 10 protected year after year after year.
You're right.
Oh,
You're right.
But that's it. That's really the only pick. Minnesota, you don't have shit.
No, they have their pick every other year because you can't trade
Yes,
years back.
that's-
You can't
yes,
trade picks
for
back
sure.
to back.
There's a swap in there too, though, at some point.
That's tough. I'm gonna just go with Luka. I'd rather have Luka. I'll be honest.
That's really,
But Joel,
really
you
what it
don't.
comes
You
down
have
to.
they have their picks, but they can't trade any of the picks they have.
No, I know, but they can still draft. Same thing with Dallas. Dallas,
That's
they
a fact.
can't trade any first round picks for the next like 7 years.
I'm gonna say this. I understand where you're coming from, Riv and Joel. I don't know if you have a similar belief. I understand it's Luka Doncic, right? You're starting a franchise. You're telling me that I get to have Luka Doncic as my guy that I get to build this thing around. It's very hard to see another team that you would take over that. I look at the Timberwolves. Yes, Anthony Edwards is not Luka Doncic. He may never be Luka Doncic. That being said, we can acknowledge that Anthony Edwards is a future two-way superstar. I do firmly believe that Anthony Edwards has the capabilities to be a two-way superstar. And then on top of that, Jaden McDaniels, from what he's shown you this season with the offensive potential, I have to give credit where credit is due. Of course, Joel gave that shout out earlier on, so I don't want to be the one that's originating this Jalen McDaniels idea. That is never the case. Joel has been on this one, no doubt. Jaden McDaniels and his ascension this season, and if he can be a consistent offensive player, that's huge for Minnesota. And then you have Karl Anthony Towns, who's one of the better scoring big men in the league, who, yes, this season has struggled with injury for a good amount of seasons, truthfully. But I get Anthony Edwards, who I believe in his potential can be a top 10 player in the association. Jaden McDaniels has a very high ceiling, in my opinion, could potentially be a top 40 player in the association. And then you have Karl Anthony Towns, who's one of the better scoring big men this game's seen. I feel like with that being said, I would take Minnesota.
I just think like they have Rudy Gobert, who's kind of like holding them back a little bit. Cat's great. Cat's due for 50 to 60 million soon. That's a lot of money to him. They're gonna have to pay Ant-Man, Jaden McDaniels soon. Like you said, they don't have enough draft capital, so the flexibility isn't great there. Dallas is another tough situation too. Like Kyrie's probably gonna leave. They're gonna lose Christian Wood. Jason Kidd might be fired, might not be. Mark Cuban doesn't look too good. Yeah, but it's like pretty much. I don't know. Like I would say Luka, but I'm not feeling great about saying it. You know, it's like
because Dallas's team itself, it's Luka Doncic. Absolutely, there's no absolute that Kyrie Irving will be back next season.
I just know you don't have to put, like, from what I've seen so far, you don't have to put a lot around Luka to make them an extremely competitive team. Like, you don't have to put a lot. So
that's fair. That's
a fair point. I was playing NBA 2K on the Nintendo Switch the other day, and I was playing my league. I started from today, so I decided to build with the Dallas Mavericks to see, how far I can get with them. And Kyrie Irving did leave in free agency. He signed with the Orlando Magic. So I was like, damn it.
That'd be lit. I'd be hyped.
This is why it's so tough to build the Dallas Mavericks up again. You're not sure if Kyrie Irving resigns. If he resigns, you have no flexibility to sign anybody else in free agency. That's a big thing. Even if Kyrie Irving decides to leave and you're not paying him $40+ million, you're giving Davis Bertans $17 million. Reggie Bullock is $11 million a year. Tim Hardaway Jr. $16 million a year. They don't have any cap flexibility. In order to free up cap, they would have to trade Davis Bertans and possibly Tim Hardaway Jr., and you would probably have to attach a pick to Davis Bertans. The best roster I could assemble with the Dallas Mavericks was I traded all the expensive contracts like Bertans and Bullock and Tim Hardaway Jr., and I signed Fred VanVleet. I signed Dylan Brooks, and I traded for Clint Capella. And my starting five was Fred VanVleet, Luka, Dylan Brooks, Capella, and I drafted Chris Murray with the 10th overall pick out of Iowa.
Not bad.
Okay, so you need another shooter in there for sure.
and then Josh Green and Jaden Hardy off the bench, obviously. So if the Mavericks keep their 2023 pick, if it's, in fact, if it, they're going to keep it, of course, the only first round pick they can trade would be the 2027 first round pick.
They can't trade that 2023 pick if it goes to them?
They could.
Okay. My only problem with that is, like, you're bringing in a young player. How does he look next to Luka? Like, how is he going to develop next to Luka? That's my only, like, depending on who it is, that would be my only problem with that. But if you could package that with one of them big contracts, maybe bring in a much better player, looks a little different. But both teams are kind of stinky with the money. So I don't know.
I think it's
the money and
important
the draft
you
capital.
don't always have to make a move. I know
Yeah.
we kind of get obsessed with like making trades and you have to go for it. If you have a star, go and get the best team possible. But there's definitely patience pays off, right? Like looking back at this Gobert trade, just because you think you're close doesn't always mean that if we just go and get an all-star, this shit will be fixed. Like fit is still really important. I think Minnesota overlooked that.
What's the likelihood that what in NBA history, what's the likelihood that European players leave their first team?
Historically, it's not too.
It doesn't happen a lot historically, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like overseas players usually stay for the long haul.
Yeah, I mean, Luka said he was happy in Dallas, but he also said things.
Everything about Dirk and
like Hakeem stayed, Dirk stayed,
Giannis stayed.
I think that the Mavericks.
Jokic.
I think the Mavericks definitely need to. This is the most important offseason in the franchise's history.
They have to earn their right to keep Luka.
Yeah, I think Luka will have no disregard and he'll leave if things get that bad.
New York.
It's a possibility. Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, listen, picks.
Be serious.
We could give it. We could give them. Yeah.
Do we want to just go right into the Mavericks conversation right now?
Let's do it because the NBA is they're investigating the Mavericks. They launched an investigation on the Mavericks after the matchup on Friday versus the Bulls because they want to know the motivations behind their actions of sitting Kyrie Irving, Josh Green, Tim Hardaway, Maxi Kleber, and Christian Wood. They want to understand why a team that has Luka and Kyrie would just not play them with 2 games left in the regular season. The NBA is just dumbfounded by this idea that a team would sit stars. They've never seen this before, and the Mavericks are the first team to ever do it. So they're launching an entire investigation to get to the bottom of this. And
totally off brand.
Oh my goodness. And listen, I will say this. I feel bad for the fans that paid for the tickets. But listen, if you're a fan, you have to be a smart fan and not a stupid fan. All right.
You do.
Because I understand that nowadays everybody wants to just put it in a vacuum of listen, fans deserve to watch great competitive basketball. I heard that the second level seat, this 200 level seats for Dallas were like $100 to get in. And everybody's like, oh, listen, this is why there should be no tanking because these fans are paying hard-earned money. Well, listen, motherfucker, you could have not paid the money to go to the game. You probably had an idea.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Like, I understand, like it's a bit harsh, but listen, all it takes is an article. All it takes is an interview to listen to Jason Kidd to know that Luka wasn't going to play past the first quarter. So you did that to yourself. Yeah. That's why I don't have much sympathy for that because ultimately teams are a business and they run their teams like a business. Everybody knew, and we've I brainstormed this idea a couple episodes ago that the Mavericks should possibly tank and get that top 10 pick. They should. It's because it's the best thing for them organizationally. It makes the most sense. And if Kyrie decides to stay and they have a top 10 pick, it'll be more talent on their already not a lot of talent roster. Now, the difference between the Mavericks tanking and other teams tanking is that they openly admitted it. So Jason Kidd openly admitted that the Mavericks not playing their players was an organizational decision. And I think it was a bit cowardice of Jason Kidd to act like he wasn't in on the decision because I think he definitely was. But ultimately, why is this where the NBA draws a line? Why is the Dallas Mavericks where the NBA draws a line? With 2 games left in the season, them sitting out multiple starters and only playing Luka 1 quarter is such a big deal. When it was already going to be tough for them to get the 10th seed in the Western Conference. You ask any Dallas Mavericks fan, would you rather get the 10th seed, ultimately face the Nuggets in the first round and get bounced to the playoffs or the play-in, or would you rather have a top 10 pick in the NBA draft? I think everybody would say a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. Yet, the NBA has launched this investigation when Portland, 2 weeks before the Blazers were officially eliminated from the play-in, they sat out and shut down Dame. Dame basically openly admitted that he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuilding team. And the Blazers were openly tanking, like, okay, they didn't outright have a meeting and press conference that they were tanking, but they basically were. Like, we're not stupid here. They were tanking. And the Jazz, Colin Sexton missed 20 straight games after the All-Star break. They were in prime playing position. Lauri Markkanen was missing every other game. They started playing THT 30 plus minutes. Chris Dunn came out of nowhere, and he started
so competitive without Markkanen and Kessler.
Chris Dunn was crazy.
He was kind of hooping.
Chris Dunn
was
was
like
crazy.
22.5 points on Boom Fantasy. Like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Chris Dunn was cooking the Lakers low key.
The Jazz were clearly tanking. The Blazers were clearly tanking, and they were tanking with weeks left in the NBA season. Yet when it's the Mavericks, when there's just 2 games left in the schedule, now we're launching an investigation. I think it's ridiculous. I think that ultimately NBA teams have to understand that getting a top pick, it's as bad as it sounds, the NBA incentivizes losing. They do, because the worst teams get the best picks. And it's like that with the NFL. That's why we see teams openly tanking the NFL as well, because they get the top picks in the draft. And for the Mavericks, it was between them getting bounced in the play-in of the first round or them getting a top 10 pick. And you take the top 10 pick 10 times out of 10. There's no doubt about it.
So a couple statements to rebuttal against what you're saying. You made fair points. Let's say you bought the ticket the day before, 2 days before. You could do a little bit of reading. But a lot of these people are season ticket holders. They go to every single game. These guys have these tickets far in advance. It's a bad beat for them, where they had been planning on going to this game for a while, and then suddenly now the player that you are ultimately going to see doesn't suit up. Another reason why the league is upset is because Luka's box office. The league wants Luka Doncic in the playoffs. Luka Doncic in the playoffs means more money for the league and the players as well. So I understand that point too. And the fact that Dallas and Luka will not be in the play-in, it's unfortunate, especially because NBA is trying to build up the play-in tournament, and it was a huge thing for the fact that LeBron and Steph Curry were one of the first to be in the play-in, and to exactly John Morant's another one too, where they're trying to build up the plan and start to make it mean something. Of course, we already understand it means something, but the Mavs basically said, screw the plan. This doesn't mean anything for us. It's not going to do anything for us. But listen, if I'm the Mavs, I agree with you. I understand your decision. I would have done the same thing. If I have a chance to be have a top 10 pick, I'm making that decision as well. I said it on the show too. I would tank if I was the Dallas Mavericks, but I understand the heightened attention that the Mavericks are getting because of who's on the team. Now, you mentioned it perfectly about the Blazers. Damian Lillard was shut down for the last 2 weeks. You go on Google and you try and find why Damian Lillard was not playing. They give you a reason. It was a quote unquote calf injury. We all understand that was some calf. It's calf, truthfully. Damian Lillard was putting up unbelievable numbers consistently, night in, night out. And then suddenly they realized that they weren't going to be competing for the play-in, and they said, Damian, we're not going to risk putting you in harm's way. Similar here, where it was just the last few games, and it's a little bit more heightened because Dallas had an active chance of making the play-in. And again, Luka will not be in the play-in, will not be in the playoffs. That hurts numbers, hurts ratings. It hurts a lot of the fans a lot of new fans, their favorite basketball player is Luka Doncic. For him to not make it into the playoffs is going to be a huge blow for the NBA. So I understand why they're upset. As for Jason Kidd coming out and saying that this was an organizational decision, I get it. I'm not trying to have blame for us missing the playoffs, although he is getting blamed because of the rotations that he put out, no doubt about it. his lack of playing Jaden Hardy as well. There's reasons why Jason Kidd should have blame. But in this specific situation, I understand you're right, taking the quote-unquote coward's way out, because I don't want people to go and say that this was my decision to sit Luka Doncic. I didn't want to put him in harm's way. You can sit there and acknowledge, say, hey, organization didn't want me to do this. Organization wants to have a better solution for us in the long term. My job, I'm not having to be put on the line. I'm not having my reputation put on the line as somebody who's in agreement with tanking. So I understand where Kidd was coming from, but ultimately, I think the Mavs made the right decision. Whether it's going to lead to an investigation, one that could lead to repercussions, they're not taking their first round pick away. I don't think so.
No,
but I don't see that happening. So I'm okay with it. If I'm the Mavericks, you did a good job. Hopefully you would secure that top 10 pick. And hopefully, of course, Kyrie Irving does decide to stay with you in this offseason. But if I'm the Mavericks, that's my bigger concern, not this tanking investigation. The big concern is whether Kyrie Irving will be on my team next season or not.
Drew, here's
I don't
my
think anyone would
rebuttal
really
to that.
care. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Giles. I just want to mention something about the ticket thing. I'm not going to buy Week 17 tickets to the Jets.
Interesting. I'll tell you what. I had tickets for the Lakers versus Knicks months before I even had the idea that LeBron James would even be in consideration to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at that time.
The Jets also don't have Luka Doncic, by the way.
No, I know, but I'm
We have
saying
Zach Wilson.
mostly
Yes.
when you buy tickets at the end, when you buy tickets at the end of regular season, it's a huge risk. You're not buying week 18 tickets to the Chiefs and the Bills once they clinch the playoff spot, because you know you're gonna see Matt Barkley and fucking Chad Henne. You know, you're not doing that. So with the Mavericks, I think if you were a fan of this team, then you kind of knew it was trending this way. And if you're a season ticket holder, well, you got to see 40 other games. Like, this one wasn't the make or break one that I'm like, okay, like, you know, it's about time fans, you know, start getting reimbursed for this stuff, because ultimately I think that every Mavericks fan is happy with this decision of getting this top pick. Well, they should be.
And it's not fair, because obviously you should be able to get tickets whenever you want, but it's the reality of the NBA. Like, if you're getting tickets 2 months out in advance, you know this is potentially going to happen, unless you just don't watch the NBA at all, and maybe your son likes it and you don't really pay attention to it. Maybe that's an excuse. But if you're a real NBA fan, you know I'm not getting tickets 2 months in advance because I don't know who's going to be hurt. I'm not getting tickets on a back-to-back game because some guys might be resting. So I think there's a lot of things you could look at as an individual and say, how can I avoid this situation? And Joel's right. When you're going to game 80, 81, 82 of the regular season, there is a strong chance that your favorite player is going to be sitting, or in Luka's case, plays for a quarter and ends up coming out for the rest of the game. I think the biggest issue here is what Jason Kidd said, and basically saying that this is coming from upstairs, it's coming from the front office.
Facts.
If he didn't say that, I don't think the NBA has this investigation at all, truthfully, because you have these conversations with Dame and with the Jazz, what they had going on. And you had the Wizards and Bulls game. I know they were locked in, but the Wizards Bulls, the Bulls and Hawks, whoever it was, and they said all of their starters a couple of days ago where we're locked in, we're not going to play anybody, and people are in the same situation, but no one's batted an eye. The fact that Jason Kidd went out there and basically just told the entire world, Mark Cuban told me to make sure nobody is playing, that's why the NBA has an issue. And they have a right to have that issue, because it can be done under wraps, in secrecy, and everyone knows, but no one goes out and admits it. But once the head coach of a team goes out in public, he says that, the NBA has to respond. And it's inconsistent, it doesn't make sense, and all the teams do it. But at some point, you kind of have to say, we have to put a stand to this if you're the NBA, and kind of save face in a sense. Because if you just let that go by, then I think there's going to be bigger issues down the road. For the Mavericks, I never thought they would go this route. I never thought Mark Cuban would actually say, fuck it, we're going to sit Luka and Kyrie and these guys and purposely lose games. I just honestly didn't think that was Mark Cuban's personality, right? When you see him on Shark Tank and all these interviews, he's a alpha male, a guy that wants to go and get it and win. And that's kind of the opposite move that he made here. I think for the Mavericks, though, it probably isn't the best interest long term. If you go up against the Nuggets round one, that's a sweep, or 5 games at most. This team is not built to beat the Denver Nuggets in the 7-game series. So you get your top 10 pick. It's not going to go to the Knicks most likely. There's a small chance that happens. And it's probably the best long-term solution. But I understand the NBA having a safe face and saying they're launching an investigation. They're not going to find anything. Maybe at worst they find the team $100,000 or something. But no picks are going to get stripped, I don't think.
Dehls, the way they got Luka was by tanking.
I was just about to say the same thing.
2018. This was the only decision for Dallas. At first, like many people, I said, you don't sit Luka because he's not going to let that happen. But organizationally, they probably thought he was cool with it. It makes sense. And now in the offseason, they're going to have a top 10 pick to either draft a player, draft and develop, or parlay that into some assets. I just still can't get over the fact that they didn't make the playing tournament this year.
It's like someone told you that the Mavericks weren't good, John.
The Mavericks are not. The Mavericks are not bad though. The Mavericks have the most. The Mavericks. Listen, I know that it's easy to be like, oh, listen, the Mavericks are just this trash team, whatever. They're not. They had the most. They've had the most losses in clutch games this season. They were in the most. They were in the most clutch games this season, and they down the stretch they lost 14 games in a clutch. Now we can talk about the Mavericks all we want, but the truth is that they were a top 10 team in terms of offensive rating. Their defense never got better. They were a bottom 4 team since the trade deadline. But the truth is that they were just not able to execute in the fourth quarter. I thought that they still had a chance though.
I'm so confused.
Let me ask you a question. No, let me ask you a question.
Supposed to have the best coaches in the game.
If the Lakers were the Dallas Mavericks, are you saying they're not a bad team?
Fuck.
No,
Joel.
Listen, Drew. You got me. I'm not saying that the Mavericks are this great team or a good team.
Come on.
I'm just saying that every single game they have been in, you were the same person that told me that when the Lakers were the 13th seed that, okay, we're bad right now, but all of the games we're playing are really close and we could win all of them. The same thing with the Dallas Mavericks.
We did though. We ended up doing that.
Down the stretch, you had your wins for sure. The Mavericks have been in almost every game. They just lose close. And I'm not saying they're a good team. I'm just giving context to the losses. It's not like they're getting blown out the water. They're competing for sure.
Well, they have a great offense, but the issue had always been the lack of defense. And Riv, you're not out of the blue either.
No, I was about
to. You're not out of the blue either, buddy. Did you see what King's Twitter was doing to you and John?
Ooh.
They were quote tweeting. They were like, delete this podcast. Why is this post still up? Force Sabonis right.
I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do
with
the force Sabonis right. Absolutely, John. With all respect, I don't know what you were thinking. I don't know what you're thinking, but Riv, you are adamant. Huh? Are you stupid?
We need
calling me stupid on this take.
We need to give John an assistant head coaching job to scheme up against Sabonis in the playoffs.
He does steal well, but I mean, a 10-second clip will send you a lot of different ways, and ultimately, yeah,
it's a part of the game, John. It's part of the game.
It is.
Actually,
it is.
A couple Kings fans are cool with me because I admitted I was wrong, and I don't give a fuck because I don't have no love for that. I can care less whether I was wrong or not. They're not good. I'm not going to go play the Joel route and say they were in close game. They lost. They're not good. They ended up not being in top 10. They're not even in the play, and it's really actually sad as shit that nobody here.
They're dog doo.
Nobody here could picture them not being in a play-in. Like
play-in,
not
absolutely
even being
not.
in a play-in.
Absolutely not.
Was kind of crazy. I didn't see that coming. This investigation is dumb. This shit is so stupid. I get what Dehls is saying, like they shouldn't say it to the public, but Kid was being honest. And let's be realistic. Fans know what they're doing. Fans have, if you're a fan of the NBA, you have called on to the benching and the sitting and the tanking. It's pretty much evident. We know what you're doing already. Like you said with the Dame shit, they sat him 3 weeks ago. We knew the vibe. We knew what was going on. Utah had Laurie in and out the lineup every other day. We knew the antics. So, if you're a fan of the NBA, you kind of already know the antics. It's okay to admit it. We don't care. We understand it. And the Mavs weren't going anywhere. And just him to play in the first quarter was really weird. But nonetheless, they weren't going anywhere. The direction was smart. If you're an organization, you had to find a way to salvage the season. And I think getting a top 10 pick or getting yourself closer to a top 10 pick, assert yourself at least you can get something out of the season. Kyrie may leave, but you have a top 10 pick. But this ultimately, this investigation is stupid, bro.
And they played Luka for only 13 minutes because it was Slovenia night.
He scored 12 points.
I know. I'm just saying that's why they did. A lot of people probably flying out.
He scored 12 points.
Yeah. When it comes to it's weird though because obviously the Mavericks' intention was not to tank. You don't trade for Kyrie Irving to tank. They wanted to be competitive. It just so happens that they lost a lot of these close games, and then when it comes down to the last games of the season, they just felt like it wasn't worth it to win them. And I don't think I'd rather that than the Jazz, who mid-season before the trade deadline, they ship out Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley for nothing. Like, well, I don't even know what Utah got for Vando. They traded one of the best defenders in the league, a floor general point guard, and a good three-point shooter for nothing at all.
They got a first-round pick. They kill Alexander Walker
for like Russell Westbrook buyout.
They killed, my fault.
For a Russell Westbrook buyout. So for me, what the Jazz did was worse in how they traded 3 good players, and then basically Colin Sexton sat out 20 straight games and then played versus the Lakers and then sat out again after that. That to me is way worse than just a team with 2 games left just deciding that they're just going to tank the season.
I think it's like the way Dallas did it was justified.
It's a joke.
You realize at the end of the year you don't have a chance. All right, I'm going to sit my guys. I don't see the big issue in it. I mean, I don't know.
And it's not just that they're
does
cooked,
Luka, I'm sorry, but
does
does Luka get a pass for this?
Huh?
Does Luka get a pass for this? Because we talk about
hell no.
We talk about him like he is the best player in the world. Constantly put him in these conversations with guys that are going to be going to the fucking finals and win MVPs and shit. And he's an 11 seed in the West, and nobody's even like. I get it. Is he above? Is he above the hate? Sure, I guess so. But if this was any other superstar, he's getting bashed for this, and nobody even seems to care.
Nobody.
Cool.
Hey, this Luka, is.
I get it.
I mean, people do seem to care. I think people are bashing Luka right now.
Well, people have been cooking Luka for like a minute.
I want to see Dehls.
I have not seen people.
I mean, Dehls.
show you some tweets.
Dehls, you are so adamant on this Luka point. Does this change your perspective on Luka? Luka's still a great player.
He's still a great player, but I think we put him in these. And listen, individually he deserves it. Went to the Western Conference Finals last year, but we treat all these NBA players on such a year-to-year basis. And Luka is going to be an 11 seed and not even make the play, and no one's really going to care. And I get it. You could look at the lack of talent or the close games at the end of the season, however you want to slice it if you're a Luka fan. But I think the fact that you are a top 5 player in the world, damn near guaranteed, no one even argues that. And you're an 11 seed, I feel like it's a conversation that no one's even having.
So
no one's going to bash him.
So does he drop for you, Dehls? I'm asking you. Now let's get into it. Let's dig into it a little bit. Does he drop?
I mean, Kobe missed the playoffs in 04-05.
Hey, respect Kobe, please.
I'm just saying, it's not the first time a great player has missed the playoffs.
He had one.
So does he drop for you,
Joel, really easy. This is how simple it is for me. Luka Doncic or Nikola Jokic? You're going Jokic, correct?
Jokic.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic or Kevin Durant?
KD.
Luka Doncic or Steph Curry?
Steph.
Luka Doncic or Joel Embiid?
Embiid.
Close. Really?
Luka Doncic
I'll take Luka. My bad. Luka. My bad.
It's not.
Luka.
Listen, it's not. Don't just say. Don't
because
backtrack because Joel and Riv just gave you the No. This guy's gonna win MVP. This guy's averaging the most points in the league. He's one of the best rebounders in the league. He's a great defender as well. It's not an insane statement, is all I'm saying.
Luka stays healthy. He's at least been past the second round. Zach, I'll take Luka.
Okay. Jason Tatum.
We
know Luka's better though.
Like, look at his face.
Bro's an 11 seed.
You knew he was going to take
Anthony Davis
in the class. Bro's in the class with the Jazz and the Spurs and the Rockets. Like, come on, man.
Newsflash, Dehls. Basketball is a team game.
Wait, so Dehls, if they flipped, would they be any higher with Tatum?
Who knows? Tatum's better. Tatum's 2 seeds, second best record
defense
in the NBA.
Is huge.
Went to the finals
Riv,
last year.
You sleep on the defense.
He plays defense.
Don't sleep on it.
He plays defense.
No, Drew, Tatum is not a defensive anchor, so I don't sleep on the defense. He's just not an anchor.
He's a great defender. He's a great defender.
He's not an anchor.
Jason Tatum's not taking a bottom 20 defensive rating to top 10.
You can ask Dehls. Is Tatum a defensive anchor?
He's not an anchor. No one's saying he's an anchor. He's a great defensive player.
But there's how many players in the league are one of the best offensive players?
So the Mavericks, the Mavericks are a bottom 25 defensive rating, correct? With Tatum, they're not top 15. They're still going to be a bottom.
Change that. He's not going to.
They're better for sure.
I don't know. It also is something.
Better.
Remember how you guys were being Riv specifically. I remember when I was driving to Florida and we were having the conversation on Damian Lillard and his lack of defense. And you said that a big part of that is because the Blazers lack of defense. And you said a big part of that, and who's to blame for that, is that their leader is not playing high-level defense. Now, similarly, you have to keep that same energy with Dallas and Luka Doncic, where you're ultimately saying then that Luka Doncic, since his energy and his defense is not there, that it carries over for the entire team. One thing you can say about Jason Tatum, you could say a lot of things, but in terms of defense, every single night he plays high-level defense. And you could say that whatever you want, that he's not a quote-unquote defensive anchor, but regardless, he's the best player. He's setting the tone.
Tatum is not the defensive tone setter. He's not the defensive tone setter.
Okay, Drew.
But he's the best player regardless. And you're saying Dame is not the defensive tone setter either. Excuse me. Neither is Luka. I'm not saying that Tatum is a defensive anchor in his own right. All I'm saying is he locks in defensively. He is a great defender. Luka, Dame, these guys can't say that. So I want you to at least keep that same energy. Is all I'm saying.
Okay, Luka doesn't make the Mavericks defense better. Nobody ever implied that. But Jason Tatum being on the Mavericks does not take away from the fact that the starting center is Dwight Powell.
No doubt, the talent stinks, but I say that the defense would be better because Jason Tatum is a significantly better defender than Luka.
If the Celtics all season long started Daniel Tice at center, would their defense be top 10?
We've been playing Luke Cornett half the fucking year.
I was going to say Blake Griffin gets a lot of minutes.
At least Al Horford.
Blake Griffin and Luke Cornett played a lot of minutes when Rob was out, man.
He's not starting. That's different.
No, but they were damn near the first big off the bench, either Blake or Cornett.
Yeah, Dwight Powell is a big man off the bench. He's not a starting center. Dwight Powell is getting 25 to 30 minutes a game. He is your defensive anchor for the majority of the game. The Celtics do not have that issue. If Tatum was on this team, it does not stop the fact that any team will abuse Dwight Powell.
Can't be an 11 seed. If you're a top 5 player in the world, you cannot be an 11 seed.
Well, he's a top 5 player in the world. He is the 11 seed.
Can't happen. Be better.
LeBron missed the playoffs. LeBron missed the playoffs in 04-05. You do know that, right?
In 04,
he was a
04-05.
We're talking about his
second year in the league.
When
they won 40 games.
Bro, be serious.
Luka made the playoffs in the second year in the league.
After he won a fucking championship.
Kobe, when the talent got worse. The talent was worse when Dallas. They didn't re-sign Jalen Brunson.
Once you win the chip, Luka hasn't done that.
Did the Mavericks not lose an all-star in Brunson?
They got one in Kyrie.
He wasn't going to be an all-star in Dallas.
He wasn't an all-star. He wasn't a potential all-star. He was an all-star when he left.
He wouldn't be. He
was an all-star.
And he could not lead that. And he could not be an all-star playing alongside Luka Doncic.
Well, he wasn't an all-star in New York either, in name.
He is an all-star in New York.
But he's played. Yes.
But you're the one that said he's an all-star. You said he's an all-star.
You're the one
He
pushing
didn't
it. You literally just said he's an all-star.
Jalen Brunson in the playoffs definitely was playing at an all-star level. If you watch Jalen Brunson play in Dallas, he definitely was an all-star level player. That's why I predicted him to be an all-star in New York. Because he was that good already.
Okay, I don't know the point you're trying to make.
And also because the talents got worse for the Mavericks. That's why.
They got Kyrie, and were they 8-17 with Kyrie?
Dehls, the thing, the offense did not drop off with Kyrie. Their defense dropped off. A big reason for that is because Kyrie's not a defender. It's not a shocker, but also you're going into a brand new defensive scheme where you have to understand rotations and your teammates' tendencies. That's a big adjustment period. That's why a lot of these midseason trades don't work.
They just don't have the personnel. It really does also comes down to that. But then a lot.
But Luka has it.
Okay, Drew, I understand.
Luka not getting praised for his defense last season when Dallas was top 5 defensive rating.
Luka has admitted he hasn't been a good defender, though. Luka openly came out and said, "I have to get better on defense."
I know.
Listen, Drew. What I'm saying is that him being the 11th seed does not change for me the type of player he is.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I still believe. I believe very firmly Luka, at minimum, is a top 7 player in the NBA. At minimum. But you cannot call someone insane or stupid if they would rather Joel Embiid, who's going to go on and win an MVP.
Nobody's saying
you can't also
stupid.
call. No,
I'm
glad.
No, we chuckled.
I'm glad.
Bit.
That's it.
We didn't call him stupid.
That's what I know.
I would say. Listen, I'm not. You guys know I'm not an Embiid guy, so you shouldn't be shocked.
And also, I think that it's pretty also dumb to be like, oh yeah, Luka's not a top 5 player because he's an 11th seed, but shit, he's top 7. I mean, come on, bro. What's the gap between 7 and 5?
I mean,
are we serious?
You can understand his skill set and also realize that
saying a player's top 5 versus top 7 is not saying much, really.
There might be a gap. Who's the 7th best player in the league?
People will say Jason Tatum.
Oh, there's a gap. Between 5 and 7, it might be a gap.
If Embiid is top, so who do you think is the top 5 players in the league, Riv?
I would go Joker, Giannis, Steph, KD, Luka. How many is that? 4?
That's 5.
That's 5 already.
Yeah,
so if 6 is did you say Embiid?
6 would be LeBron. 6 would be LeBron for me.
So is there a gap between LeBron and Luka or Embiid and Luka?
There isn't a gap between.
That would be 6 and 7. That's what I'm saying. So saying somebody's top 7 versus top 5 is not saying much.
We've got Kawhi.
I'll tell you what, Riv. I respect the hell out of you for having LeBron that high because people have been chatting about him barely being top 10 this season.
Yeah, that he's close.
Because
Like,
people overvalue regular season for old heads. That's why
they do a lot.
I don't. If you're an old head or if you've accomplished everything, I don't care what you do in the regular season. I know you're just coasting.
The Houston Rockets fired Stephen Silas.
Holy shit!
After he went 59 and 177 in 3 seasons with them. Now, John, I want to ask you this question. I want you to go first because you watch a lot of Houston Rockets basketball.
Why?
Sadly.
And I want to ask you, John, with this firing of Stephen Silas.
Actually?
I watch half their games.
Why, John?
Oh, that's 40 games too many. But go ahead.
John, you're hurting yourself.
When it comes to the Rockets, John, do you think that this firing was fair for Stephen Silas?
I never felt like Stephen Silas was the man for the job. I never felt like he was ready. And honestly, he got hired here because Dallas's generational offense in 2020, 21, Luka Doncic. And
you want to know an interesting stat about that?
Let's hear it.
The historic offense that year, the offensive rating was 115.9. This year, the Mavericks offense, which ranks 6, is 115.9.
Exactly. I mean, each year we see it get better and better. Stephen Silas was brought in to coach Russell Westbrook, who wanted him to get hired, and James Harden. But in that same week, James Harden's requesting a trade. Russell Westbrook's being sent to Washington. And he never connected with the players. It was a team that really just had a placeholder head coach in Silas, who unfairly was really just the scapegoat, I think, by a lot of Rocket fans. Now, do I think Stephen Silas is a good head coach, a good player development coach? No, I don't. But there are articles, an article that just came out by The Athletic, which said Eric Gordon went to Stephen Silas and was like, yo, we're doing too much freelance. I'm the most experienced guard here. Let me have a larger role in the offense. And Silas said, yeah, champ, I can't do that. It's not in my control. I can't even pick who I want to be the primary focus of our offense. It's the higher-ups. Raphael Stone, their GM, who has proven nothing in the NBA, was in player meetings, in actual practices, interrupting Silas and saying how the players should be doing drills. What track record does Raphael Stone have other than being Daryl Morey's right-hand man? He has none. And then I look at Rockets ownership. They're just trying to get Victor Wembanyama. And Silas succeeded in that task. But had he have won more games, not giving them a chance to have a top 5 pick in this year's draft, he would have also been failing the task. So his name gets dragged into the mud. I don't think he's a good head coach. But I also think, man, if the Rockets think firing him is going to solve their issues, they're in for a rude awakening this offseason. Because with $60 million in cap space, they have to fix this team prompt out. That first round pick they have for this going year, shit, that's top 4 protected. They're probably not keeping that. And that's going straight to OKC.
When I think about Stephen Silas, I feel bad for him because he's been through a lot this year in himself and his personal life. But also, Stephen Silas took this job thinking he was going to coach Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Russell Westbrook vouched for Stephen Silas before he got the job. And then when Silas got hired, he requested a trade 2 weeks later. Stephen Silas was supposed to coach a team that was going to compete in the Western Conference, and then they turned into a rebuilding tank job. And you mentioned it perfectly, John. Raphael Stone would sit in meetings. He would interrupt Silas to the point that Silas had to go to the front office and tell him he can't do this anymore. We had proof of the mismanagement in Houston with John Wall's interviews. With Stephen Silas and John Wall had a great relationship, but Silas told John Wall that he couldn't play him. He couldn't start him because John Wall said that it's best for the young guys if they earn their starting spot from me. But the management, the ownership, the front office did not want John Wall to take away any minutes away from the young players, therefore having no real competitive atmosphere. And Silas had no say in the matter of whether John Wall could stay with the team or not. It was the point that John Wall just stopped being with the Rockets in the front office would rather him just sit at home and collect his money. So when I look at this Stephen Silas era with the Rockets, I think about a guy who didn't get a chance to coach a team. I think about a guy who was fucked over by the front office repeatedly, and he really didn't get a chance to implement anything. Now, I'm not faulting Stephen Silas. It's obvious that he's an offensive coach and he has he doesn't have any real defensive background, and that's a big reason why the Rockets struggled defensively. But also the Rockets left him with some personalities that were hard to deal with. Christian Wood, Kevin Porter Jr., they weren't the easiest of personalities. Then you have these rookies that come in that want everything handed to them right away, who become instantly the faces of the franchise. The two things I will blame Silas for is not realizing Alperen Şengün was good earlier on. Before this season, Bruno Fernando was the starter over him. And defensively, not having a real identity defensively or schemes defensively to cover up for some of the players' mishaps. But outside of that, I mean, Stephen Silas got no real chance. He didn't. I mean, from the start, he was bound to fail.
John, I'm still amazed that you watch 40 games. It's fucking mind-boggling. You sit there and you watch 40 Rockets games. It's really hard to watch them. You know, I'm listening to both of you guys. I definitely feel a little bit more saddened for Stephen Silas. Like you said, I didn't know about the stuff prior to like the James Harden, Westbrook. I didn't know about that stuff. I've just looked at it from this year's standpoint. He was given this roster. He was supposed to nurture and kind of lead these young group of men, lead these young guys. And it's kind of been a high school AAU parade over there. You know, it's kind of been Austin Rivers has spoken about it. John Wall's spoken about it. Eric Gordon kind of gives his spiel about it in a less direct way, like, we're not improving. That was hilarious. He said they didn't improve. They're not improving. They don't improve. So players have spoken about it. And I think Silas, the way he goes about his post games, you've seen he's very emotional. You can tell he's trying. You know, he's definitely there trying. But I think the point that the fact that the players don't respect him, the young guys, I think goes to show that maybe he doesn't have a strong enough backbone, or maybe he doesn't have a strong enough voice. And you need that as a coach. That is one of the most important things. You need a voice. I mean, you can look at Ime over there in Boston. He had a voice. The players respected him. Look what happened. Finals, they got cooked, but finals. So that's the most important part.
Boston six.
Yeah, cooked. But that's the most important part, you know. So I think to have a voice is important. Silas didn't have that in Houston. And I don't know who is. Who's gonna go there? And guys are gonna listen. It's possible, but these are young. These are guys younger than us. These are guys John age. They're literally John age.
Yes.
So these are young guys, young adults. They're still immature. They kind of get to do whatever they want there in Houston. There is no identity. There's no, and defensively, I can't even blame Silas for not having a defensive identity because none of them play defense. There's not a single guy, maybe Jason Tate, the oldest rookie ever. Like he doesn't play defense. He plays defense okay, but there's not a single guy over there that you can sit here and build the foundation with. And I think that's the struggling problem for Silas. And I think ultimately, I understand Silas is probably going to be the scapegoat. It's obviously bigger than Silas, but for him not having a voice in the locker room, that's a him thing. For him not being able to develop anybody on the roster, that's a him thing. Sengun wasn't even a him development. He just finally started playing him, and Sengun just showed you he's good. So I think Silas definitely gets a little bit of the blame, but he's definitely not the main problem for Houston being a downfall.
And the thing that's pretty nuts is management is quote-unquote telling him that he can't do this, he can't do that. And he abides by all their rules and regulations, and then ultimately he still ends up getting fired. So really there was no winning for Silas at this point in time. Of course, we want to talk about the record. It wasn't there. Nothing was there for him in terms of trying to defend him as a coach, unfortunately. The only thing you could use to defend him is that he really had a shortened leash and what he was capable and what he was allowed to do as the head coach. And if I was Stephen Silas, honestly, I'd be happy. I'd be happy that I'm no longer the Rockets coach because now I can go to another team, potentially be a high-level assistant coach. I can then, give myself a little bit more of a resume and then put myself out there to potentially be a high-level coaching candidacy in the future, potentially. What's very tough for me also to sit with is, of course, you mentioned Joel. He he has gone through a lot this season. He lost his father. He mentioned how that was a huge part in and how this was already a struggle for him in terms of the Rockets. And then you add the personal aspect of real life issues on top of it as well. I can only imagine the mental battle that's going on with Stephen Silas himself. So, of course, I want to give him my thoughts and my prayers as well on that side note, regardless of how long ago it was that he lost his father. But if I'm Stephen, I look at this as a positive. The Rockets, where we can look at the outlook and say that, hey, we like some of these players. We believe that they're in a solid spot to acquire Victor Wembanyama, potentially a Scoot Henderson, potentially a Brandon Miller. They're in a prime spot to acquire one of these three prospects, high-level prospects, if you ask me. And this team could be very interesting. But if I'm Silas, now I don't have to worry about looking over my shoulder and any single move I make or do is being magnified and overlooked at, overanalyzed. So for Stephen, look at this as a positive because now you can go and give yourself a better reputation than what you acquired over with the Rockets with a 59 and 117 record.
Oh my God.
It's ugly. You go from 17 to 20 to 22 wins these last 3 seasons. I don't care who you are. I mean, you could call it a scapegoat, whatever. You're not going to be a head coach, really, no matter who you are. If you're 3 games or you're 3 years there, you don't even touch 25 wins, right? The roster's bad. And when he got there, you guys mentioned it, he got screwed. You think you're going to coach Westbrook and James Harden, a team who has shown to make deep playoff runs. D'Antoni leaves, and you think you could be, this next young offensive head coach to really make your mark in the NBA. And like a fucking week into the season, shit just turns on its head. Westbrook is gone. Harden requested trade, and all of a sudden you're rebuilding when you thought you'd be competing. So it's a situation that damn near any coach, I don't care how good you are, you're going to go in that situation. You're probably going to fail. I don't really know. I know guys want like Ime and all these guys who've had success elsewhere, but if you're going to have a team that's this devoid of talent, you're going to lose a lot of games. You have potential with guys like Jalen Green and Sengun and Kevin Porter. Like there's guys that are young that have talent and can be developed, but right now they're not ready to compete. And we mentioned the defensive, lack of effort. Offensively, they were last in assists and 12th in isolation. So it really goes to show the type of offense they're run that there really is no sets. And I think even Jalen Green went to Silas. I read the report on The Athletic as well. Jalen Green even went to Stephen Silas and said, I think we should run more sets, more of a controlled offense, a fundamental offense that there's actually plays and not just pick up basketball. We're going to go one-on-one the entire game. And it seemed obviously not to work because the offense never got turned around and the defense was even worse. So Silas was in a situation that no matter what he would have done, he would have got fired unless you completely overachieve and somehow win 30 games with this team. But it's not going to happen. I think for the future, I'm with you, Drew. Get out of Houston. Get out of that kind of toxic environment where there's reports that the GM is in there during practice and calling out, different, remarks on terms of like defensive assignments. Like the GM should straight up not be doing. And Silas had to deal with that. So I think it's best for him to move on. He'll find an assistant job somewhere, hopefully with a good organization that could, kind of build up his reputation again, because he's only 49 years old. It's not like this guy is ancient and can be out of the league anytime soon. He's still a young coach that has promise. Obviously, his time with Dallas before he went to Houston got him that job for his offensive mindset. But Houston was just a situation that he was never going to succeed in, unfortunately.
Now, going on to the only football topic on this show. The Baltimore Ravens signed Odell Beckham Jr.
Woo! Should have been a Jet.
And I mean, listen, I thought he was going to be a New York Jet, but I can't be mad because $13 million signing bonus, 1 year, $18 million deal. That's way too much for OBJ, in my opinion, right now.
What do you mean?
That's a big time risk. That's a big
respect
time
the
risk.
GOAT. Can you respect the GOAT, please?
Odell called the Jets and Joe Douglas and said, listen, you want to match this offer? And they told him respectfully no, and he signed with the Ravens. The good thing about this deal, I think it's clear. Odell Beckham Jr. to the Ravens means Lamar Jackson is staying in Baltimore. It's as simple as that. And I think about this Ravens offense. The offensive line is good. J.K. Dobbins, Lamar Jackson, Odell, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. This offense is going to be an air raid offense. It's not going to be the Ravens offenses of old with Greg Roman, where it's going to be heavy sets, 12 personnel. It's not going to be that way. This is going to be a spread out offense. And I'm so excited because this is the first time Lamar Jackson is going to be he's going to be able to showcase his arm. And I'm tired of these running back comments that still get labeled and thrown onto Lamar Jackson like he hasn't proven himself as a passer.
Joel.
I never call Lamar Jackson a running back. I never call Lamar Jackson a running back.
You never called him a running back, but you damn near called him everything else in the book.
No arm Lamar. It started from you.
No arm Lamar.
Come on, Lamar.
Listen. In the playoffs, he chokes. He chokes in the playoffs.
Joel,
but I never called him. I never called him a running back. I never called him a running back. And you'd be lying if you said I did. Now listen, it's the bottom line. The Ravens now have a talented roster. Odell Beckham Jr. as the second option as a receiver in the offense could be potentially electric if he can stay healthy. I would still like the Ravens to draft a receiver. I want them to. I think Zay Flowers would be the ideal place for him. Zay Flowers would be an ideal fit in this offense, but Todd Monken as the OC. I mean, this guy was airing it out with Jameis Winston. With Lamar Jackson, this is the first year where I think people are going to start changing their perception about Lamar Jackson as a passer because Todd Monken is going to unlock him in that way.
You're sicking me. You really do.
Hey, come on, Lamar. Come on, Lamar still stands. You picked them to beat the Bengals in the division. They didn't.
Yeah, they were in first place before he got hurt.
Come on, Lamar, stay healthy. What's up?
The Odell contract is interesting. $15 million guaranteed, and that's what everyone's going to look at. But I think you have to look at it a different way because Odell's not worth the same to every team. That's obvious. If he went to the Jets, he's probably wide receiver 2, maybe wide receiver 3, depending on his health and whatnot. But
wide
for the Baltimore Ravens, he could potentially be their wide receiver 1. He's probably wide receiver 2, but for the Ravens, he's their wide receiver 1. And that's why they feel comfortable paying up to $18 million for him. This happens all the time in our fantasy football leagues where my 4th running back would be your best running back. So you offer me some bullshit offer because he's your 4th running back. Who cares? But in reality, it's all about what that player, how you value that player. And for the Ravens, they desperately needed an explosive wide receiver, someone that could beat one-on-one coverage, someone who could find the openings in zone because John's not here. I know how much he loves fucking Devin Duvernay. He's not going to be a guy to be able to take this
Where the hell did he go?
To the top.
He left. He had to go somewhere.
But with Odell, he's an explosive playmaker. I understand the 2 ACL tears. There's some concern there. But at the end of the day, it's a 1-year contract. So there's no long-term, commitment to Odell. It's 1 year. If he sucks, it's not like it's going to be a cap casualty or a dead cap hit next season. He's going to be off your books. And if this helps you get Lamar Jackson, if this is the last thing needed to get over the finish line and get him to sign that contract finally, you do it. You get Odell, you overpay him for maybe $5 or $6 million more than you want to spend, but you're able to get an explosive wide receiver in this pass-heavy offense you want to run. I don't have a big problem with it.
It's also important to note that with the Jets, it's not like our wide receiver 2 is Alan Lazard. I think Corey Davis is a very capable number 2. And with Garrett,
team now.
Yeah, he is. He's going to definitely. Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Lazard, McCole, that's a good receiving core.
And it's important to note, too, that
it's getting carried. It's getting carried.
They can still add another receiver.
Corey Davis with Tennessee was close to a 1,000-yard receiver. If he stays healthy,
listen, if Garrett's the guy,
this is also given
he could be a top 10 receiver. Corey Davis and Hardman and Lazard, I think you're fine with the complementary pieces. But I think it's also important to note that during the rumors last year last week when Odell was set to take a visit, part of that conversation was the physical, the money, but it was also how is Odell going to fit in this offense? How is he going to fit in the Aaron Rodgers-led offense? How is he going to fit as the clear wide receiver 2? Maybe on some games, some weeks, you're going to be the wide receiver 3. I think there was maybe not concern, but there had to be some sort of clarity there between the Jets and Odell. You go to the Ravens, you're the wide receiver 1, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Joel, that's an excellent point made about how every team's need it varies, of course. So you may need to spend a little bit of extra money to go and maybe sign someone you may not be. So overly inclined. Other teams may not be overly inclined to give the same amount of money. Like Edmonds with the Bears. Some thought that was an overpay. Mike McGlinchey, same thing. People thought that it's an overpay. But how I look at it is you have a need. You have a strong hole in your squad that you need to answer. And the biggest hole for the Ravens ever since Lamar Jackson had been brought in to be your quarterback was the wide receiver position. Even when they had Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews, that still was not enough. Hollywood Brown, I think the world of him. I think he's an excellent wide receiver, regardless of that fact. Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews was not enough because Hollywood Brown is not that X-type receiver, especially for a guy like Lamar Jackson who needs more of a technician, needs more someone to get open and create a little bit of space. I think Rashad Bateman has the potential to do so, but at this point, I'm starting to lose that faith as well. But now you bring in Odell, who's a great route runner in his own right, Yes, we're a year removed of seeing Odell last, so we're going to need to see how fast he looks. Does he still hold that same speed that we saw last? But why I'm still high on this move, because last we saw Odell, he was amazing. On the Rams, he was fantastic. Him and Stafford had an immediate connection, and in the playoffs, yes, Cooper Kupp was the best receiver by far, but you couldn't name a better complementary piece in that playoff run than Odell. Odell was en route to be Super Bowl MVP potentially. He had an amazing first quarter. I'm blanking off the top of my head whether it was the first quarter or the first half, but he was amazing, and he goes down with the knee injury. You see the momentum completely go to Cincinnati. Odell Beckham still has something to prove, no doubt about it. I think at least at the minimum, last we saw Odell, he kind of answered some naysayers there. But now you're with Lamar Jackson, who has doubters himself to prove. And now you're coming back a year removed. People are still going to question the contract now, whether you're worth $18 million or not. I think that with the Baltimore Ravens, it was essential you make Lamar Jackson happy. And in doing so, you bring in not only a big name, but someone that could come in and contribute. And like Joe said, potentially be your wide receiver one. And now this also opens up the field for Mark Andrews, who this season struggled as the only true option on the Baltimore Ravens, where last year, of course, you still had to account for Hollywood Brown. And then towards the end of the season, Rashad Bateman, who ended up being pretty productive for his rookie season. And Mark Andrews was able to not see as strong coverage, where now this season hopefully Rashad Bateman will stay healthy. You do have Odell Beckham on the outside, can play the inside as well. Now this will open up the field for Mark Andrews. So really the big reason why this is a great move is because now Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, is going to remain a Baltimore Raven. And that is the bigger story than anything. Yes, you may have had to overpay for Odell Beckham Jr., but at the minimum, you keep your franchise quarterback in Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, this move definitely gives you the good feeling in your stomach, the warm feeling Dehls likes to say that Lamar is staying with Baltimore. I think the money it's a 1-year deal, so it's not like this. Run it off, it's a short deal. But I think what's interesting to me is what Dehls said. 2 years. 2 years. Oh, that was cute. This is the nice little three-way.
Right? I fucked with that. Yo, Joel, go back before you leave.
Joel, go back. I think it's interesting that 2 years removed from an injury, the Super Bowl, he missed the whole year. That's huge. He's coming in. He's going to be a number one. We haven't seen Odell be a number one in a really long time, so that's a big thing. The AFC is loaded. We always forget to say that, but we have to mention that every time we talk about an AFC team. The AFC is stacked. It is loaded. But this, like we said, you got a nice new background, Joel. What's going on?
I just turned on the light.
Bro, it's moving around.
Yeah.
Yo, bro, I was fucking with the other camera.
Yeah, the three-way.
What camera?
That little 3-box shit?
The little
the 1, 2, 3 in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore, bro.
But are you guys not like, I don't know, like Odell is a number one. Are you not worried about the injury and him slowing down and still
it's
not
ideal number one?
Like
it's not ideal number one.
I need to see it.
It's better than
I need to see how he looks back.
That's a concern.
I need to see how
I
he
agreed
looks
with Joel though. Like drafting a receiver still has to be a number one priority. Like you still have to bring in more help, especially because Odell hasn't played. Like we've seen Deshaun after not playing football in a year. This is Odell not playing in a year and coming off an injury. So this is like, and he's a quarterback. This is a receiver that relies on his agility, his burst, his speed, and he's a little bit older. So this is like the optimism is there, but still this could backfire in a sense.
So yeah, I agree because Odell's injury prone. Rashad Bateman hasn't been able to stay healthy. He was injured last year. I think that you have to draft the receiver. That's why I would draft Zay Flowers. I'm not sure if he makes it all the way to their pick, but I think drafting a receiver is a priority. Now, Tyler Wallace in the comments section is questioning whether or not Garrett Wilson can be the wide receiver number 1. And he lists off all these players that will possibly be better than Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson can be better than Terry McLaurin.
Yes.
Just go through the list in order as it is. Jettas, no. Chase, no. Cup, no. Tay, no. Diggs, TBD, but I'm going to go no. AJ, TBD, but I'm going to go as of right now, no. CD, he could
be better than Lamb, yeah.
He could be better than CD. Yeah. D-Hop, I'm going to give him his respect. He was amazing in that short, small sample size. However, without Kyler Murray, I'm going to say that
Garrett could have more yards.
Garrett Wilson has the better. That Garrett Wilson has a better season. Tyreek Hill, no. Jalen Waddle,
yeah,
maybe.
Conversation.
I'm going to give that maybe, no doubt. Higgins, I'm going to say yes.
Easily.
Smitty, I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
Keenan Allen at this point, I'm going to say yes. Scary Terry, respect to Scary Terry. I think he's become one of the more underappreciated receivers. I think that that's the universal underrated receiver. I'm going to still take Garrett Wilson, a name that's not here that I will still take over Garrett Wilson, but marginally, is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What about Jamar Chase? Was Chase up there?
Chase was on there.
Chase was there. Correct.
Amon-Ra?
I love Amon-Ra. He's amazing. He gets open. He has hands. He is just everything I want in a wide receiver. But that being said, Garrett Wilson's ceiling is definitely higher. But next season specifically, I still think that Amon-Ra could have the better year.
Is Tyler saying he has to be better than all of them to be
with Aaron Rodgers?
All right, that's different. But that's again, we don't know if he's going there signed and sealed.
Yes,
with Aaron Rodgers, I'm with you. Yes.
Come on, bro.
All right, you're right. I have to manifest. You're right. I have
it's
to
not just manifesting.
I don't think to the Jets.
I don't think Joe Douglas announces that Aaron Rodgers is coming to the Jets if he's not coming to the Jets, bro. He's coming to the Jets. I think the deal is like 99% done.
I think the NFL wants to be dramatic, and they're going to wait for draft day, and fucking it's going to be this big thing. It happens while the Jets are on the clock or something. It'll be something like that.
So, yes, with Aaron Rodgers, I'm with you. I think that he could be better than CD. I think that, yes, reluctantly, I'll say he could be better than Amon-Ra. And I say reluctantly because I love – exactly. He's a superstar. He's a superstar. So I'm with you. I think that he definitely can be in that upper echelon wide receiver 1, no doubt.
So looking at these Superchats, Vamp goes, no one wants Rudy. He's a specialist making franchise superstar money. It's like Westbrook's last contract.
Spitting.
He is spitting.
Vamp again. What's the least you would accept for Gobert?
Kobe White.
Emmanuel Quickly.
Oh my God, I would love Emmanuel Quickly.
Oh, Emmanuel Quickly's high. That's like
that's a
Obi Toppin.
Oh, give me Doug McDermott and a first round pick.
I would say
I would not
someone
want
who could a pick and a 3-and-D guy, like a real 3-and-D guy. Could convince me.
I just want
to
like I would if I'm the Raptors, I probably would because Jakob Poeltl, I'm assuming resigns.
Stop.
Probably.
Gobert on the Raptors. Gobert on the Raptors is the worst offense in NBA history.
It is a weird fit.
Like quite literally the worst offense you will ever see.
But they're already not good with like Jakob Poeltl as is.
But don't double down on
better than Jakob
Gobert
Poeltl.
makes them worse offensively.
Caleb Belts goes, I think Mark Jackson could be the right coach for Houston.
Mark Jackson will never coach again in the NBA, unfortunately.
Pain.
Deco, Mr. Flip Aside.
We have new candidates for Mr. Flip Aside. John is now a candidate for Mr. Flip Aside.
And don't exclude that guy right there.
Dehls has been on the roll. Right there. Dehls has been cooking.
What are you talking about? No coach.
You're sick, Dehls. You're nuts.
RJ the God, start bench cut of defenders. Draymond, Ben Wallace, Scottie Pippen. I'm going to go with Draymond.
I'll go Draymond, Pippen, Ben.
I'm going to go with Draymond, Ben, and Pippen.
Ooh, Ben over Pip.
Yeah. He stopped Shaq.
I'm with Riv.
Come on,
Dehls.
My goodness, what is that?
Dehls. Are you serious?
My
Bro, you
goodness.
might as well have ear fucked us.
I'm
This
trying
guy
to
can't
mute
even
him.
hear us.
So Josh E goes, wait, guys, why is everyone separated out in the studio? Because right now
Well-
I'm currently in Arizona helping my girl move to Jersey.
Is this another 2-week process, bro?
No, we should be good in like a week or so.
Oh, let's go.
Yo.
Dehls still sounds
Hello.
bad, dude.
Still sound
You
bad?
sound like shit, Joel, respectfully. Joel, just get out of here. Love you.
Now NPC Santos, I'm a large for my Curry jersey, Drew.
Santos,
Now listen,
pull up the clip
Dehls,
that you were included in this.
Dehls, you need to fix your mic because we have some TikToks. You guys know that short form content has taken over the continents, and that's all everybody tunes into. So the short form content has to be on point, and we're never able to pre-record it or post-record it. So we're just gonna have them ingrained into our show.
Look at this
And
guy.
the
Ooh.
See what I'm talking about? How
Kick him,
cool do
kick
we
him.
look here?
Don't let him come back. Don't let him come back.
We don't need him.
We don't need him. We don't need him. We don't need him. We don't need him. We don't need him.
this is
Look,
pretty
looking
cool.
at myself in just a third.
Yeah,
Get
fuck
out of
no.
that. No. Who wants this? Get this out of here.
No, it's easier to edit this way. Like this is gonna be
Oh
so
my
hard.
Ah, pain.
Bro, what's so hard? You literally just cut the screen.
It's not. No, trust me. It's not. Trust me. But listen,
I believe you.
we're gonna go through. We have 4 TikToks here, and if you guys made it,
Are
this
we about
far,
to do TikToks live?
Yes, we are.
Are you telling them we're doing TikTok?
Yeah, no doubt. Why not?
Bro, we're about to fold. We're about to fold up.
And now listen.
Let's do it.
For everybody that's here right now, make sure you guys like this stream, like this episode. Your likes mean the world, and it helps us get noticed more in the YouTube algorithm. So, first one. Going through the Cleveland Cavaliers first round draft history, and Dehls is here, so let's have Dehls back in here. Dehls, how you doing, buddy?
Someone said get 0-5 back in here.
Dehls.
Yo.
Okay, we're good now. So the Cavaliers have had a successful rebuild.
My bad.
We're going to, my goodness, Dehls, stop interrupting me. God damn it.
Lock in, Joel.
My bad.
God damn it.
My
Look at
AirPods
us.
died, and then I had to unmute my laptop, so the YouTube was coming out. We're good.
So we're
Look
going to
at
do
us.
some TikTok. So LeBron James left the Cavaliers in 2018. So let's look at the Cavaliers draft history since 2018. 2018, they draft Colin Sexton. And after
Oh, you want us to react to that? I thought you were just gonna read 'em.
after I name these guys, you just give me a little bit
Got it.
synopsis.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I'm so confused.
So 2018, they draft Colin Sexton. I can say that was a good pick. It ended up being the piece, one of the main pieces in a Donovan Mitchell trade.
Facts.
Facts.
Yes.
It ended up
working out,
benefiting-
not on the Cavs, but
Ultimately, you look at it as a good draft pick because it set up their current team better off.
They got him done.
In 2019, it was Darius Garland and Dylan Windler.
A plus. A plus.
Yeah, regardless of Darren Windler, A plus because
Don't even know
Darius
who that is.
Garland is one of the
Facts.
best up and coming point guards in the game.
2020, Isaac Okoro.
A plus.
not
A
ideal.
plus.
Let's be
A
so
plus.
serious.
C minus.
A plus. They hate
C minus might be generous too.
All right. All
top
bias
five
aside.
pick, let's be
It's a C. Respect him. He's gotten better.
He's got.
I gave him a C minus, Riv.
You need a little bit more.
Hey, listen. The
He's
draft is
barely
deep.
gotten better. He's barely gotten
He's
better.
playable this year. That's a huge step.
Growth. We're getting there.
Does Stevens clear him?
Who? Lamar?
Mark
Fuck no.
Stevens.
Does not.
Nah,
No.
give me a Kuro. Give me a Kuro.
I'm just trolling. I'm trolling.
Now 2021, Evan Mobley,
A plus.
A plus.
A plus.
A plus.
best
Defensive
rookie
player
in
of
the
the year.
draft. Best rookie in the
Defensive player
draft. no doubt.
Candidate, All NBA defender.
In 2022, O'Shea Agbaji.
It got a Mitchell, so A plus.
And I was gonna say they got
He's playing
Donovan,
pretty
so
well
that's
for the
another A.
Jazz.
Yeah.
So since LeBron's
He has.
left, these drafts have been really good.
It's a fact.
Yeah. What the hell happened before?
Outside of a Kuro, you can't complain.
What the
Getting
fuck?
Garland
Oh,
and
you can't
Mobley
say
and
that.
being able to trade those picks
No,
for
he's
Mitchell.
Okoro was the fourth
Riv,
pick overall.
I would say, Riv, if he's a
Riv,
23rd pick, okay, he's a good.
Okoro is gonna be better than Jaylen Brown.
Huh?
Okoro's gonna be better than Jaylen Brown, bro.
What are you saying?
Can we end this? Can we just end it now?
Come on, like, all right, I'm trolling. But yo, bro, he can hit threes now, and he can defend at a high level. It was a weak draft.
My goodness. My
Patrick
goodness.
Williams
Riff.
with top
He's
5.
mid.
What do you want him to do?
He's mid. I can't say that where was this when LeBron was there, obviously, because LeBron had his team just too good in a position. Like, they were too good. So their draft position was always ass. So to hit on pick 29, pick 30, amen.
So now the 2018 NBA draft was filled with some really good point guards, and we're going to rank them 1 through 5. We have Luka, Trae Young, Brunson, SGA, and Anthony Simons. So number 1, I think we're all going with Luka easily.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2.
Is it crazy to say that SGA could one day be better than Luka Doncic?
Yes.
With SGA's 2A ability, the fact that scoring...
Luka's younger, just FYI.
No, I know that.
No,
individually, it's going to be hard.
I know that.
We've seen Luka struggle to play with other stars. So if you want to kind of go that route and say, like, maybe SGA has more success because he could play better with other stars.
At his peak, he's never played with another star. So
let's not think too much about this. Let's not think too much about this. It's Luka. It's easy. Let's move on.
But number 2, though.
Now, SGA.
Number 2 is SGA.
SGA versus Trae Young. SGA clears.
Give me SGA.
I'm going SGA, and I'm not thinking twice about it.
So we don't give no respect to Trae for making the East Conference Finals.
I do give him respect.
You told
it was a fluke, but I'm asking you guys.
I just think SGA's game. I like his game better. He's 6'6", long arms, can defend, can put pressure on the rim. I prefer his game better.
Yeah, I'm going with SGA as well. Now, Trae Young versus Jalen Brunson.
I will go Trae. Same size, but Trae gives me more.
I'm going Trae Young.
Yeah, more.
Correct. I'm similar with.
I'm staying loyal. I'm staying loyal to my New York Knicks roots, man. I'm
going
with
Trae Young
Brunson.
the best point guard in the game.
I'm going with Jalen Brunson, baby. Let's go.
Why did you? So then, why did you argue, or why did you try and make like a mini argument for SGA and Trae? Oh, so the Eastern Conference means nothing?
No, it's not an argument. It's not an argument
SGA.
For me. I know it's SGA. I'm talking about just you guys. I don't know how you value Trae Young.
You think he's the best in the league?
Not serious.
So now, since
you said he was the best point guard in the NBA last year,
he definitely played like it. He had the most points and assists last year, no doubt about it.
In total, you cared about that?
In total.
In total,
he was amazing.
I was gonna say, in total, Jason Tatum had the most points in the NBA last season.
He doesn't care. Joel doesn't care one bit.
I'm just letting it be known.
Look at his face. He does not care.
And chooses. It's sick. But
I love Jason Tatum. He's one of my favorite players, man. I love him.
All right. Cut the script. It's over.
Now, because you guys all had Trae number 3, next spot, this will decide the 4th spot. Anthony Simons or Jalen Brunson?
Jalen Brunson easily.
Comfortable.
It is Jalen Brunson, but this would be the time to acknowledge that Anthony Simons, when he is the lone point guard, has superstar numbers. Averages almost 29. No doubt. Listen, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm taking Jalen Brunson. However, we acknowledge that Anthony Simons, when he has the ball in his hand, when he has a high usage rate, he is extremely effective.
I think the non-biased 1 through 5 is Luka, SGA, Trae, Brunson, and then Simons is last.
Absolutely. That's it.
I just think it's crazy how 2 years ago we probably would have said Trae Young at 2 unquestioned.
No doubt. SGA, man, he's like that. And I'm happy for his ascension, no doubt.
Now, when was next question is, when do you think peak Kevin Durant was?
Ooh. I'm gonna say personally 2015 to 2020. I'm gonna say that last 2 years of OKC, 3 years of Golden
MVP.
State.
You have to throw the MVP.
I don't think that was his peak because I think defensively he was better later on. I think he was better later on.
But he was an MVP. You have to be at your peak to win. MVP.
He just was that great. And he's one of them ones where he won it before his peak. But as a passer defender, I think he was better later.
You know that he made the NBA Finals 2 years before he won MVP.
I know. I mean, he's an amazing basketball player, one of the best we've ever seen.
I'll say this. This might be a cop-out. Regular season, I think it was 13-14 MVP season. There's no doubt.
Correct.
I think regular season, his MVP year was his peak. Russell Westbrook missed 30-plus games. Yep. He missed half the season. Kevin Durant backpacked. He averaged 32 a game. And in the playoffs, they lost to the Spurs in Western Conference Finals 4-2. Playoffs, though, I think that peak Kevin Durant in the playoffs was what we just saw in Brooklyn. Milwaukee Bucks series.
So the sweep.
I think
no.
The series taking the champion team Bucks to 7 games. I mean, Kevin Durant had a 49-point triple-double in Game 5 and a 48-point game in Game 7. I understand people make a big deal about the going over 5 in overtime, but in the playoffs.
0 for 6.
For him, 0 for 6, whatever. In the playoffs, for him to take that Bucks team to 7 with Kyrie and Harden get injured, that to me was peak playoff KD.
That's fair. I was going to say more Warriors, but I could get behind these last couple of years on Brooklyn too. Even though they got swept, I mean, his regular season numbers are always stupid efficient. Even this year on the Suns, we don't look at him at his peak, but he's still one of the most efficient players in the league. But I think offense plus the rim protection he brought to Golden State, I would take probably that era.
I don't know if I feel comfortable saying that 2017 and 2018 were his peak. Because, again, it's Kevin Durant. We're talking about, at the time, the second best player in the association being added to a 73-win team. Of course he was going to go there and dominate. Is it impressive what he did? Absolutely, because ultimately you have to go and do it. But I feel like peak Kevin Durant, Joel, I'm under similar belief. That Milwaukee series was peak Kevin Durant, the efficiency, the carrying of a Brooklyn Nets team. Yes, they did lose, unfortunately for Kevin, but he was amazing that series. But again, I look at that 2013-2014 season. He was phenomenal. The fact that he won MVP over LeBron James, who at the time was I believe he was MVP 2012, MVP 2013. It would have been the first player since Larry Bird to win the MVP 3 years in a row. But Kevin Durant was just so dominant that he was the one that ended up taking the award away from LeBron James. And it wasn't really taking it away because he earned it. He deserved it.
I will say, depending on how this season finishes, I wouldn't rule out this being peak KD, which sounds crazy to say. But the first player ever to average 29 on 55, 40, and 90 efficiency. And if the Suns can win an NBA championship,
Nice.
this could be peak Kevin Durant. Like if they finish off with a championship.
Wait, is he eligible for that?
Like half the year.
Yeah, is he eligible for that?
I'm listen, I know he's missed games, but
No, he's missed like 30 games.
In terms of talking about a player, at his best, I think even though he's not as athletic as he once was, I think he understands the game much better now than he ever did. He gets to his spots much easier now than he ever did. And he's also a great to elite defender this year too. Like, I know he hasn't played most of the games this season. He's missed like half the year, but in terms of when he's on the court, this could be peak Kevin Durant we're seeing.
It could be the best for this playoff run that he's been able hurt, unfortunately, but now he's very well rested to go into this run. There shouldn't be anything really stopping him from playing 40 minutes if he needs to.
Now, last TikTok we're going to do. Dwight Howard versus Carmelo Anthony. You had to pick one to make the Hall of Fame. Who makes it?
For me personally, this is a clearing for Dwight Howard. When you talk about defensively, he was probably the best defender in the league for a 4 or 5 year stretch. What he did for Orlando, bringing them to the finals, him being the kind of the catalyst where you put 4 shooters around him, let him dominate. For me, like just what he's done for a team, how impactful he was, I'm going Dwight comfortably.
Understandable. 3 times in a row he was the defensive player of the year. Was while LeBron James was starting his prime of being the best basketball player in the NBA, Dwight Howard and company, of course, because that Orlando Magic team as a whole deserves respect. Dwight Howard, as the best player on that team, overcame LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. That ruined the opportunity for us to see LeBron James versus Kobe Bryant. Our one chance to see it, Dwight Howard stole that from us. He was a dominant force defensively, offensively too. He just was a force to be reckoned with in the paint. I think that with respect, as great of a scorer as Carmelo Anthony is, I think the answer is Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I go back to that 2009 run where he made the finals, and he beat the LeBron James Cavaliers that year. They won 60 games that year. He beat them.
He beat Boston too, right?
Yeah, and that was without Jameer Nelson. Jameer Nelson did not play in that playoff series. He tried to play in the finals, but he was clearly hurt. I think it's crazy how great Dwight Howard was and how much the NBA just sweeps how great he was under the rug. You know, nobody acknowledges him or talks about him like one of the pillars of the 2010 eras. He was that.
For sure. And even later on in his career, I'm surprised to mention his time with the Lakers during your finals run.
He was solid. We just had a lot of
guy. Was obviously.
No. Because JaVale was great in his own right. Of course, Anthony Davis averaging 38% from 3. We'll never see that again from AD, unfortunately. He was unbelievable from 3. But we had a lot of great bigs on that team. Dwight was definitely solid, though, no doubt.
Yeah, his two-way ability just clears.
So, Riv, Luka and SG are the same age.
Oh, what? I thought Luka was like
Really?
23.
Riv, is there more of a conversation now?
I might change my answer, but I'm biased, so no.
What do you mean bias?
I'm biased, so no.
You're biased towards SGA.
Exactly, but I think Luka's better. Come on. What are we doing? I get it. He didn't make the playoffs, 11 seed. I got it. Cool, all that's great. But come on.
I'm not even just saying that either. I just think the two-way ability too is very
The
high
two-way
in my mind
ability
as
is
well.
overstated. SGA is not an elite defender. He's
not
good
an elite
overall
defender. I'm not saying he's an elite defender by any means. I'm just saying the fact that he can still average 30, 31 points and still be a solid defender on his squad, on top of being overachievers this season. No one thought that OKC would be in this position. For them to finish above Dallas is an accomplishment in their own right. So I think that it's worth having the conversation, but I understand Luka. You still taking Luka Doncic.
Yeah, until like SGA goes into the playoffs, and I love SGA, but until he goes into the playoffs in this form and shows me something similar to what Luka showed us, I don't think you can put him over.
Yeah.
If OKC makes it as the 8th seed, does that move you?
It moves
because I don't think they'll beat the Nuggets. I don't think they'll beat the Nuggets.
Get a game.
You get a game from me. Shut up. You know, all I need, I ask for a game. All I need is one. You give me one, I'm gonna defend you to kingdom come.
Yeah, so that's gonna do it for this episode of the Pick a Side Podcast, episode 271. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast. And listen, right now we are on a expiring 1-month deal with Boom Fantasy. Make sure y'all deposit, use code PAS. Make sure y'all get the numbers up because we got to show Boom Fantasy that the Pick a Side family don't play. You know, we going in. We bringing in depositors. NBA playoffs are right around the corner, so there's going to be a lot of time to bet, but please bet responsibly. We gave you guys 3 hours of content. Next podcast episode, we will be doing a playoff prediction show, going through each series in the playoffs and giving our analysis and prediction on them. So stay tuned for that. Probably be recorded this Friday. So yeah, gonna leave you guys on that. Hope you, Dehls, Riv, and Drew have a great night, and hope everybody in the chat has a great night as well. Make sure you guys leave a like on the episode, and we'll see you guys next time.